Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Blasphemers Bible with the usual crew. Anybody got any opening comments?
Yeah, I got something. This I know, Arn, you just posted your video on Trump and Trump versus the Constitution. Very well done.
Thank you.
And I am excited to talk about the Ten Commandments this week in a video. I would go one direction with it, but after reading up more about that bill, the Texas bill, I might take it a totally different direction, but I think it's going to be way better. So I'm very excited to bring that to people.
Yeah, I am excited to see it too. It's upsetting that it was passed, but some of the details you shared yesterday about how it was passed, give
Great
me
stuff.
a twinkle of hope.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I haven't seen reports on it, so I haven't seen like a fully updated bill, and that's what I really want to see. But you still have access to all the amendments that they did. So,
I just want to say I think Lawrence has his mic a bit noisy. Sounds like it. I don't know. I just hear some statics when he talks. I don't know if that's on my end or his end.
Was it maybe the
It has like a buzzing sound, kind of.
I'm not
like
hearing it
right now?
Yeah.
Does anyone else hear a buzzing?
Now it
No.
stopped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have beer.
Yay! I'm gonna go get some.
This is Bach beer. It's
I have
7.5%.
coffee, so.
It's
Yeah,
What?
you know what Bach
7.5%?
beer is?
That's it.
Yeah, that's like strong lager. And it's 7.5. Yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations. She's gone up to grown-up beer.
Excuse me. I drink IPA.
Oh.
Oh, honey, put it back in the horse.
All right. Enough of that. Now I understand
Arn,
that
you drink stouts. You got no right to judge IPAs.
I have that gives me the right to judge.
No, I don't think so. They're both awful.
No.
Girls, you're both pretty. Now, let's
All right,
get
so-
back to how God is a raging cunt waffle in the newest font.
Yes. And speaking of waffles, stouts go good on waffles.
I mean, maybe with maple syrup, which is
No, they are maple syrup.
Oh shit! I forgot to put fucking hell.
Yeah, I've had several stouts that taste to me like a little bit like drinking pancake syrup, but
nothing
just
to see. Nothing to see. Move
19.9%
along.
ABV.
Arn,
Okay, well-
as a Dutch person, I have to object because stroopwafels are not made with maple syrup.
dishonor on you. Dishonor on you, Peter.
But
Dishonor.
we're famous
Dishonor
for
on
them.
cow.
We're famous for
Okay.
stroopwafels.
There is nothing that is not made better by maple syrup. It is the
That's a
best
really good
of all.
Except
well, of
That's a
course,
really-
the Canadian would say that, wouldn't they?
except
That's a really good
stroopwafels.
description. That's a really good description of an American breakfast, a stroke waffle.
It's stroop with a P, not.
I know.
Stroop.
Joking.
We're Dutch.
Can
we're
we
not.
please move
We're
to the
not
subject?
that Dutch, Isaac.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
gotta talk about the
Isaac-
Levites.
I believe
Oh,
Isaac wanted to
Levites.
read today.
Yeah, I prepared the first chapter, so I'll read the first chapter.
Okay.
All right, chapter 23. When David reached a ripe old age, he made his son Solomon king over Israel. Then David assembled all the officers of Israel and the priests and the Levites. The Levites from the age of 30 and upward were counted. The head count of their males was 38,000. Of these, there were 24,000 in charge of the work of the house of the Lord, 6,000 officers and magistrates, 4,000 gatekeepers, and 4,000 for praising the Lord with instruments I devised for singing praises. David formed them into divisions. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kehat, and Merari. The Gershonites, Ladan and Shimi. The sons of Ladan.
I got a question. because we're in first person.
Yeah, it's weird.
That
It's weird.
sentence, that
In
little
that
sentence.
sentence, it reads Asher Asiti Lehalel, which means I devised for singing praises, and it's a bit weird because the entire section is in third
Yeah,
person, but
the
uh,
commentary is like David said that part.
So who's talking?
it's
Possibly David.
There was
supposedly-
one sentence quotation from David in the middle,
Yeah.
with no indicators. Linguistically, it's weird.
yeah, but
Exactly.
it seems it's like I think it's a textual error. At least Septuagint and Vulgate has he made
In
so
the Bible?
yeah, who knew?
Oh, sorry. Where was I?
Sorry.
7.
Okay. 7. Okay, I'll stop from there. Yeah. The Gershonites, Ladan and Shimi. The sons of Ladan were Yechiel, Zetam, and Yoel, or Joel. The sons of Shimi were Shlomit, Chaziel, and Haran. These were the chiefs of the clans of the Ladanites. And the sons of Shimi were Yachath, Zina, Yeush, and Beriah. These were the sons of Shimi. Yachath was the chief and Ziza the second, but Yeush and Beriah did not have many children, so they were enrolled together as a single clan. The sons of Kohath was Amram, Itzhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The sons of Amram were Aaron and Moses. Aaron was set apart, he and his sons forever, to be consecrated as most holy, to make burnt offerings to the Lord and serve him and pronounce blessings in his name forever. As for Moses, the man of God, his sons were named after the tribe of Levi. The sons of Moses were Gershom and Eleazar. The sons of Gershom were Shavuel, the chief. And the sons of Eleazar were Rechavia, the chief. Eleazar had no other sons, but the sons of Rechavia were very numerous. The sons of Yitzhar was Shlomit, the chief. The sons of Hebron, Yeriah, the chief. Amariah, the second. Yechaziel, the third, and Yekamam, the fourth. Kamam, whatever.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. You come on. Okay. The sons of Uzziel, Micah the chief, and Yeshia the second. The sons of Merari were Machli and Mushi. The sons of Machli, Elazar, and Kish. Elazar died having no sons but only daughters. The sons of Kish, their kinsman, married them. The sons of Mushi were.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'll ask after.
Yeah, that first cousins, I imagine. The sons of Mushi, Machli is again, Eder and Yeremot. These are the sons of Levi by clans, with their clan chiefs as they were enrolled, with a list of their names by heads, who did the work of the service of the house of the Lord from the age of 20 and upward. For David said, the Lord, God of Israel, has given rest to his people and made his dwelling in Jerusalem forever. Therefore, the Levites need not carry the tabernacle and all its various service vessels. Among the last acts of David was the counting of the Levites from the age of 20 and upward. For their appointment was alongside the Aaronites for the service of the house of the Lord, to look after the courts and the chambers, and the purity of all the holy things, and the performance of the service of the house of God, and the rows of bread, and the fine flour for the meal offering, and the unleavened wafers, and the cakes made on the griddle and soaked, in every measure of capacity and length, and to be present every morning to praise and extol the Lord, and at evening too. And whenever offerings were made to the Lord according to the quantities prescribed for them on Sabbaths, new moons, and holidays, regularly before the Lord, and so to keep watch over the tent of meeting, over the holy things, and over the Aaronites, their kinsmen, for the service of the house of the Lord. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, we counted the Levites and we defined their new jobs during the temple period, I guess.
Yeah, they're new jobs. So the so by the time this was written, this just would have been like solidifying their role, so you can tell which traditions were important to them, but also if we compare this to the census,
some of them are similar, some of them are different. No, the numbers. Okay.
Yeah, if we compare this to the census that David took before, now he was obviously fucked over for that census, but this one it was totally fine. Yeah, but I think that one of the reasons might be that we're because the Levites were not meant to. The Levites.
They weren't counted in the first one either, anyway.
They weren't counted in the first one, but in this one, this is where they're counted. I wonder if this has to do with their what's the word I'm looking for? Their ability.
The main difference seems to be that the first time it was like, count how many men of war I have. Like, I'm a
exactly.
king. How many people do I have?
It would imply, I think, that the Levites were not sent to wars, because I mean, obviously their lot was just to,
or not as soldiers. I mean, obviously we have many instances
not as soldiers.
of the Levites
I
carrying the ark out for battle or what have you. But this appears to be more about establishing a lineage and tradition for specific clans to claim specific roles. And basically, that's ours. It's always been ours. It's the tradition. And David said, and shut up.
Tradition.
I should note.
And you guys who claim to be their own clan, actually, you're part of our clan. You've always been part of our clan because your ancestor was the second son or something, like.
Oceania has always been at war with East Asia.
I should note this comment from Klein. He writes that on first reading, one might conclude that a census of the Levites would be impossible, since it seems to conflict with 21:6, where neither Levi nor Benjamin was counted in David's census, and there has been no subsequent divine oracle to make their inclusion permissible. But censuses of the Levites, in order to assign them to specific tasks, were made in Numbers 3:14-39 and 4:1-49, despite the prohibition about including them in the census in 149. The latter census counted only those who were able to go to war in 1:3, which presumably did not include the Levites.
So when you're counting, you got a guy out there counting, and he comes up with 34,000 people. And he's I don't know how they're doing that, but I imagine it takes some amount of time. Like, you count 34,000 people, like a bunch of those dudes probably died before you've done counting.
And I'm sure
you have one guy.
And some guy had their 20th birthday, so they should have been counted.
I counted 38,000. I went to all the villages, saw all the people, counted all their heads. It only took me 25 years to do the count.
I mean, it probably was some form of, like, you go to the leader of the clan, and the leader of the clan gets the heads of the families have their own counts, and then they add them all together at the end.
It's delegation is a thing.
I just wanted to say that there is a section by PSGD, which is one of the traditional commentators, and it's there is this, you can't see it right, but there is an entire section dedicated just to his commentary. I mean, this is an entire this is, if you read my bibliography, you would know who PSGD is. This is an entire commentary on a specific thing. It's bizarre.
PSGD,
Pseudo Saadia Gaon's disciple.
Oh, okay. I thought it was some English person.
No.
Okay,
I mean, for all the anonymous people, I'll use abbreviations.
Anonymous traditional commentator who claimed to be a disciple of the Saadia Gaon.
No, somebody else claimed that he was a disciple of Saadia Gaon.
Somebody else claimed that Luke and John and Matthew wrote the Gospels.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's just an anonymous commentator. Oh,
chicken!
Is that who I think it is?
Oh my gosh! He's back!
I'm back. How is everybody?
I've been better. Life is terrible, but that's the usual.
I mean, that's usually how it works.
Your country's on fire, and we're really glad we have legal weed.
Yeah. Well, it's legal weed in Washington, so I mean, take it as you will.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to distract from the story, guys. I finally have a chance to come on, and
it's good to see you again, Jeff.
My big terrifying monster, thanks to my dad. So this one, by the way, if you guys recall, this one makes no sense compared to everything else. So it should be usual.
It makes no sense compared to anything else.
Yeah.
Which is usual.
Yeah.
For a Bible, yeah.
Okay,
would
I've got a
much
I've got a
better.
comment here from what I don't know how to pronounce it. Mickey Genomates.
Nikki
Mickey-
Gnome 8, maybe.
Oh no, yeah.
I'm not. I'm not.
no.
I'm sure there's a joke in there. I'm not getting it. But it says where unleavened wafers like old Roman Pascha. Where unleavened
Where in that's a
Were- I
typo.
Were.
You're probably supposed to be
Were,
were.
were unleavened wafers like old Roman Pascha biscuits before the myth of pasta from China?
I have no idea.
Are you referring to
We actually
matzah?
spoke about that earlier. Unleavened wafers similar to Roman pasta biscuits. I never heard of pasta biscuits, but
I haven't either,
haven't.
but I mean, it sort of makes sense. There's only so many things you can do with dough. You can boil it, you can bake it, you can fry it. Like everybody's had slightly different ways to do that, but they've all done some version of that.
yeah, I think the Bible, the unleavened wafers. I think there's normally something. It's a fried dish in oil. I just don't remember. I don't remember if it's like a cracker or like a thicker dough stick sort of thing.
Fried.
And then
It's
we
not
have-
leavened, so it's not going to be very soft.
We have Satan 616 offering 25 Romanian lei. It says to celebrate the return of Mighty Chicken, the very opposite of taco.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, guys.
I'm glad
I
I
was
do
thinking
not
about
know
having
what is
tacos
taco
today,
stand
though,
for
so
again?
hope that's not
What
terrible.
does taco stand for again? Trump,
Trump.
always.
Trump,
Chickens out.
yeah,
Oh,
always
chickens
Trump
out.
always chickens out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the internet has become full of AI generated taco Trump memes. Sometimes he's a chicken,
Right.
sometimes he's a taco, sometimes he's wearing a chicken and a taco. The chicken hairpiece is particularly surprisingly well done. But yeah, it's I mean, that's what you have with a bully who has no idea what he's doing and is just throwing public tantrums every day. You can rely on him to be erratic and
and everything he
I-
does is illegal and blocked by the courts.
Yep.
Hmm.
I have a picture of our Captain, Lord and Savior, on a shrimp head. So we call it the Shrump. And I wish I could show it to you right now. It's on my cell phone, but it's absolutely one of the best things ever. So it's him doing the whole face, but it's like on a shrimp. So I'll send it to you perhaps or something like that. You can share it with everybody, but it's pretty perfectly awesome.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So Isaac, to answer your question, there was a scholar named Raphael Kirchheim who, in the 19th century, when he presented the commentary, he thought that it was a commentary by one of Sadiq's own students, but
Right. This student had written anything else? Like
Nope.
other actual commentators?
No, he just assumed that it was
him?
like he was a disciple of him because like
okay.
because of stylistic reasons, but like recent studies showed that probably isn't. And there is a study by Eran Wiesel who has shown that it probably belongs like to Western Europe, probably 11th, 12th
Right.
century. So yeah.
Okay. It reminds me of like, classical art where you have like famous paintings that are thought to be, a disciple of Rembrandt or something like that. And then it turns out to be someone else entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we don't know who it was, but they're like based stylistically, it looks like it was a student of a certain master or something.
Yeah.
That was a very common thing for students to learn from the masters by actually copying some of those famous works ever.
Right. And then you have people who like specialize in copying.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll start on verse 3. The Levites 30 years old or more were counted. The Bible has 3 traditions in regard to the age of the Levites when they are initiated into service. 30, as we see in Numbers 4, verses 3, 23, and 30. 25 in Numbers 8, 23 through 36. And 20 in verses 24 and 27, 2 Chronicles 31, 17, and Ezra 3, 8. Japhet writes that historically speaking, these differences stem from historical circumstances and by the size of the Levites. The issue, however, is literary. How could 2 different ages for the Levites be mentioned in this chapter? One solution is the use of different sources for each verses, with verse 3 stemming from the chronicler and verses 24 and 27 from other, perhaps more ancient sources. Another, suggested by Kale and Japhet, is that there is a textual corruption under the influence of 30,000 in this verse, or remembering Numbers 4. Klein, however, writes that there is no evidence of such reading. Dirksen suggested that the author of chapters 23 to 27 makes it 20 years, and in lifting verses 3 through 5 from his source, failed to heed this difference. On verse 4, in charge of the work of the temple of the Lord. Knoppers comments, quote, in Chronicles, the construction of the temple occurs under the supervision of the Levites. When the temple is repaired in the reign of Josiah, 2 Chronicles 34, 8-13, the Levites have a supervisory role, and gatekeepers, musicians, scribes, and officials are present once again. Similarly, in the time of the restoration, Levites have a prominent role in temple construction. Zerubbabel, Joshua, and the rest of their king, the priests and the Levites, begin rebuilding the temple in Ezra 3, 8, and 9. As in the time of David, the Levites are appointed, quote, to oversee the work of the temple of Yahweh, end quote, in Ezra 3, 8. These and other parallels suggest that the author or editor of the opening chapters of Ezra shared some affinities in perspective with the author of this material in Chronicles. In the present form of Chronicles and Ezra, the building of the second temple is modeled after the building of the first temple, as depicted in Chronicles. On verse 5, 4,000 are to praise the Lord with the instruments I have provided. In contrast to the previous verses, which speak in third person, this verse speaks in first person. Septuagint and Vulgate read, he made, a reading favored by Knoppers, who suggests that the Masoretic text reading may have arisen to differentiate the subject of the verb from the nearest antecedent, i.e. Yahweh. Others, like Rudolph in BHS and Myers, suggested adding, and David said, in verse 4 or 5. The tradition that David created musical instruments is attested in Chronicles, as we've seen 2 Chronicles 7, 6, and 29, 26, and 27, Nehemiah 12, 36, Psalms 1, 5, 1, 2, and Josephus in Antiquity 7, 3, 6, 4.
Okay, is it that he made or commissioned the instruments, or that he invented a new one? Because depending on the phrasing.
I think that he made. Let me just check.
I think I think there are traditions that he made instruments as well, like a type of instrument. You know,
had I Jubal's lyre
or something, you know?
Yeah. He in 2 Chronicles 7:6 it reads, Bichlei shir Yehovah asher asa David hamelech, which means in the instruments for the Lord's music that King David had made.
Yeah, but it could also just mean that he had a hobby of woodwork or something. And he made some instruments that were actually used in the temple or something, were passed down, rather than he invented a type of instrument.
I mean, it's all I
guess. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the reference is quite clear. In Nehemiah 12:36, Bichlei shir David ish Elohim, right? In the instrument
of him, yeah. Makes sense.
And I guess like Josephus. I mean, I don't need to check, right?
And then also you have like Psalms has instruments that we don't know what they were. They're just like a name that only appears in Psalms. So maybe that could be like where they got the idea from, or maybe that's a reference to this tradition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, on verse 7, Ladan and Shimei. Elsewhere, the firstborn of Gershon is Libni, as we see in 6:2, which is 17 in the Old Testament, Exodus 6:17, and Numbers 3 verses 18 and 21. The traditional explanation given by Kimchi and Butseko is that these are two names for the same person. Klein suggested that the presence of Ladan here and in 26:21 indicates that this family has displaced the family of Libni in the genealogy, and that the chronicler took this information from a source.
I mean, it could be a copy error. It could be an alternative tradition. Yeah. I mean, they're not that similar, Ladan and Libni. Only shares like two letters in common.
Yeah, it's not really, but like I don't think there are any like differences in.
It's weird that the Chronicles, the Book of Chronicles, has Libni, which matches other books, but within Chronicles there are two different names.
Yeah, but I don't see any textual variation with Ladan and Shimei. Um,
No, I think Shimmy.
yeah, I
is
mean,
I think Shimmy is in both lists, but
yeah, I mean,
like
Shimi
everywhere in the Bible.
is always with Livni, but Knoppers also notes Zockler's opinion, that Ladan was a descendant of Libni, but this may simply harmonize two variant traditions.
Right, right.
Okay, on verse 9, the sons of Shim'i. Kimchi, Gersonides, and Butzeko note that Shim'i here does not refer to Shim'i, son of Gershon, since, as Japhet notes, one, the summary of the verse is, these are the chief clans of Ladan, which means that all the people named in verses 8 and 9, including the sons of Shim'i, are the sons of Ladan. 2, the sons of Shim'i appear in place and order in verse 10. She writes that based on the regular writing systems, the names Shelomith, Chaziel, and Haran are a third generation of one of the families of Laadan's sons. Another possibility is that Shim'i is a corruption of one of the names of the third generation, with Klein, Knoppers, and Dirksen suggesting Yechiel, following Kittel, Galling, and Hogensius. PSGD suggested that Shim'i is Joel, mentioned in verse 8.
Right, right. I didn't even notice this. Yes, you have the verse 9, you've got the sons of Shimei, and you have 3 names. And then it says, these are the chiefs of the clans of the Ladanites. And then the next verse, and the sons of Shimei again, which is referring to the son of Gershon, like the Gershonite Shimei at the beginning. And it's like, so the question is like, is this Shimei in verse 9? Is that an unnamed son of Ladan? Is it a textual corruption of one of his sons that I already mentioned? Because there's 3, Yechiel, Zetam, and Yoel. Or is it just like a random Ladanite chief that we don't know? Yeah, I didn't even notice that when I read it the first time, that it mentions Shimei twice.
Mm-hmm. On verse 13, Knoppers comments, quote, the author launches into a digression on the sacerdotal responsibilities of Aaron and his sons. Digressions and anecdotes are a common feature of genealogies in the Near Eastern and classical worlds, but this one requires some explanation because Aaron's own lineage is not presented in this chapter. The digression recalls a pattern found in the priestly writing. There, one of the summaries of Levitical duties, in Numbers 150 through 53, occurs in the context of an Israelite census that excludes the tribe of Levi itself. An explanation for the non-inclusion of the Levites becomes the occasion for a summation of their special duties. Similarly, in this context, the non-inclusion of the Aaronites in the Levitical divisions becomes the occasion for an explanation, Aaron's being set apart, and a synopsis of Aaron's priestly responsibilities. The description of priestly duties here is more extensive than that given for the priests serving at Gibeon in 1639 and 40. The synopsis shows some in-depthness to the priestly writers and, to a lesser extent, to Ezekiel. On 15 through 17, Japhet comments, quote, following the reservation voiced in verses 13 and 14, the record of the Amramites is restricted to the families descending from Moses through his through his 2 sons, known from the narratives of the Pentateuch, Exodus 18, 3 and 4. Judges 18:30 makes explicit mention of a priest descending from Moses, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Moses, and his sons were priests to the tribe of the Danites. But with the exception of this detail, the family of Moses is referred to only here and in the related verses in 1 Chronicles 26, 24, and 25. The proximate 24, 20, and 21 traces the genealogical tree of the same Levitical branch directly from Amram to Shubael, ignoring Moses. The precise genealogical constructions by which the Levitical families of Shubael and Rechabiah trace their origins to Moses' sons Gershom and Eliezer have not survived. We may conjecture that if they ever existed, they would have resembled those of the head singers in chapter 6.
Do you have a different tradition where the name is Shubael, not Shvuel?
Let me just check.
What is it? Is it written differently somewhere else in the Bible?
No, it's in the English version, so they have.
Oh,
two
okay,
versions
okay.
there.
So it's just an English
Um,
translation. Okay.
Shabuel, and I think it's Japhet's commentary that has. I mean the Knoppers also. It falls. Oh, yeah. In the
Yeah.
Septuagint, it has Sobael in Vaticanus and
Okay.
Alexandrinus. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean most of the vets in the Hebrew Bible become B's or bur sounds in like Greek, Latin, and English. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've got like in my English translation it says Shabuel,
Yeah,
But,
yeah, it's Shabuel as well in here.
but the
Um,
Hebrew is Shavuel with a V sound rather than a B sound.
Yeah, Knoppers writes the dilemma of the Masoretic text has suffered metathesis. Alternatively, the Masoretic text spelling could reflect paradigm pressure from the personal names of the Lemuel, Penuel, Yemuel, Kemuel type. In this context, it is relevant to observe that Syriac, or Pshita, has the more common Samuel.
Oh, really? Samuel?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't think that's in like the Pentateuch or anything. All right.
Yeah.
Is the Bible this boring to keep us from getting through it so we won't notice the fucked up bits?
I don't know about you.
Boring? What are you talking about? I'm sure that Lawrence would probably disagree.
Oh yeah, this is a very exciting. The best books in the Bible, definitely. First and Second Chronicles.
He agrees with me.
It's the best thing I've ever read. I want to have sex with the book. Yeah, that's how I feel
the
about
spirit.
it.
The
Okay,
paper cuts might
now-
hurt less than the boredom.
About that, Lawrence, though, this is the Holy Bible, not the Holy Bible.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. I know the
Yeah,
pages
it's
are
much
soft,
easier.
but
It's much
might be a
easier
paper cut.
actually. It's much easier
we're still-
actually for me to fuck the Bible because all I have to do is use it as ground for something else.
I hear Christian priests prefer the New Testicles over the Old Testicles.
Oh my
This
God.
derails fast.
Yeah. It does.
Wow.
I have
haven't
to
even
wake up
mentioned the
somehow.
question.
That's what I love about this panel, the serious scholarship.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
actually,
Chronicles,
Aaron.
Okay. On verse 22, several commentators note that the parallel of this verse with the case of the daughters of Zelophehad in Numbers 36. In contrast to this event, which speaks of inheritance of territory, in Hebrew nachala, or property, in Chronicles it speaks of inheriting the name, i.e., quote, the right to retain the status of an independent father's house when there are no surviving male claimants to it, end quote, according to Japhet. Dirksen writes that the marital relations between the sons of Kish and the daughters of Eleazar probably reflect the relations between groups of Levites in the time of the writer, or which we know nothing further.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of speculation. I keep having flashbacks to when I was a Christian, and if you were able to speculate a reasonable supposition, everyone would just take it as fact. Oh, well, they probably got this from another source. Oh, okay. And then it was just, as long as it didn't contradict. God, that was
doing a lot of heavy lifting there, that's for sure.
it was enforced intellectual dishonesty. Mama no likey.
On 25, Knoppers notes that the text plays on the meaning of an important priestly concept. Quote, in priestly theology, Yahweh is a transcendent deity whose sanctuary is portable. As Israel moves from place to place, the sanctuary has to be dismantled and later reassembled. The deity's relationship to the sanctuary comports with its movable nature. Yahweh tabernacles with his people at his portable sanctuary. Like the priestly writers, the chronicler uses the verb shachan, but he infuses it with new meaning. The United Monarchy witnesses the construction of a permanent sanctuary in Jerusalem. As in the priestly writing, Yahweh is transcendent, but Yahweh now tends in Jerusalem forever, in Hebrew ad Yerushalayim. The temple is depicted as a constituent institution of Israel's collective life. This means that the reorganization and expansion of Israel's civil service has authority not just for Solomon, but also for subsequent generations. When some of Judah's reforming kings, such as Joash under the guidance of Jehoiada in 2 Chronicles 24, 5-15, Hezekiah in 2 Chronicles 29-31, and Josiah, 2 Chronicles 34, 8-13, and 35, 3-19, refurbish the temple and reorganize its civil service, they do so along the lines that David first established. Indeed, quote, the writing of David and the document of Solomon his son, end quote, are invoked to command and inform Josiah's reforms, as we see in 2 Chronicles 35:4, end quote. On verse 26, the other 6 references to the tabernacle in Chronicles do not refer to the Levites carrying it. Rather, it had been the responsibility of the Levites to carry the ark, as we see in 15 verses 2, 12, 15, 26, and 2 Chronicles 5:4 and 35:3. Klein writes that this slight change reflects the secondary character of these verses. Knoppers notes that in the priestly source, the standard meaning of avodah in its service is physical labor or work. But in Chronicles and other late biblical books, avodah can have a broader meaning, denoting cultic service. On verse 27, this verse is taken by several commentators like Japhet, Klein, and Dirksen to be a misplaced gloss on verse 24, intended to harmonize this verse with verse 3. Initially, the starting age was 30 years, but at a later stage, David changed this to 20. Dirksen suggested that it was initially a marginal note that was inserted in the wrong place.
Wouldn't be the first time.
No. And finally, 30 and 31, Japhet comments, quote, the third role is singing, a task which is also dependent on exemption from the work of carrying the ark, as already indicated in 6, 31, and 32, which in Masoretic text is 16 and 17. What has been described in chapters 15 and 16 as a specific historical event is here a general institutional legitimization, and as might be expected in Chronicles, the singing is described as the greatest length and minutest detail. The presentation follows a line from the least to the most detailed, no doubt denoting an increase in significance. The particular emphasis of this passage is neither on the act of singing, the instruments or forms of performance, nor the individual participants, all subjects which either have already been or will eventually be referred to, but rather on the status of music as an integral part of the sacrificial cult. The singers thank and praise the Lord on all the occasions in which sacrifices are offered, and these are detailed in full. Morning and evening, the regular daily sacrifice, Sabbaths, new moons, and feast days. This is then summed up in the word tamid, regularly or continually, the terminological mark of the regular service. And no ancient Christians.
So spraying worked.
Yes.
Then we have a comment from Rimmer's Brigery. Says Lawrence apparently has the audiobook as narrated by Peter North.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. So
Peter North. Oh my gosh, you guys.
sorry. I guess he's Canadian. I don't know. All right. So are we moving on then to 24?
He's in the part of the film industry that Trump wants to ban.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, I do know. But that's old school. That's like decades ago.
Yeah, it's well, you know.
That's why only you and I know about him, Arn.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything because I actually heard of this gentleman as well.
I didn't think it was his voice he was known for, but
it wasn't, and I don't even
looking
know
him
what
up
his voice
now.
sounds
Okay.
like.
He has a very deep,
never heard of this
long
guy.
voice.
I can't
I do
remember
love a
him
deep
ever
voice.
saying intelligible words. Anyway, moving on to 24.
Please.
Yes, please.
Okay. The divisions of the descendants of Aaron were these. The sons of Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died before their father and had no sons. So Eleazar and Ithamar became the priests. along with Zadok of the sons of Eleazar, and Ahimelech of the sons of Ithamar. I can't wait to hear Tomer pronounce these. I suspect there may be subtle differences.
What did you
I
say?
was going to
More
say Abby
phlegm.
what, but that would be
Just add more
inappropriate.
phlegm.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see. Along with Zadok of the sons of Eleazar and Ahimelech of the sons of Ithamar, David organized them according to the appointed duties in their service. Since more chief men were found among the sons of Eleazar than among the sons of Ithamar, they organized them under 16 heads of ancestral houses of the sons of Eleazar and 8 of the sons of Ithamar. Because this is all information we need to know in the modern day from the timeless message of the one true God of the entire cosmos.
Oh, absolutely.
They organized them by lot, all alike, for they were officers of the sanctuary and officers of God among both the sons of Eleazar and the sons of Ithamar. The scribe Shemaiah, son of Nathaniel, a Levite, recorded them in the presence of the king and the officers, and Zadok the priest, and Ahimelech son of Abiathar, and the heads of ancestral houses of the priests and of the Levites, one ancestral house being chosen for Eleazar and one chosen for Ithamar. The first lot fell to All right, hold on, let me brace for this one. Jehoiarib. The first lot fell to Jehoiarib, the second to Jedaiah, and the third to Haim, the fourth to Seorim, and the fifth to Malchijah. Malchijah. That's what I'm going with.
This is perfect.
Sure.
That's really good.
Sure.
Is it Jedediah? Is it like, because every once in a while you can rely on like Amish stereotypes to get you a feasible pronunciation.
No,
it's
this one is
Jedediah.
that one is Jedediah.
Jedediah.
The extra. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
God knows,
Americanized
God.
Jediah, but
Jedediah is like God knows, I think, and Jedediah or Yedidiah is more like God's
Friend.
friend. Yeah, like close friend. Yeah.
then
How
Melchijah would be my king is
How
Yah.
close?
Yeah,
I got that one.
Yeah.
I know.
So
those.
the fifth goes to Malchijah, and the sixth to Mijamin, and the seventh to Hakaz, the eighth to Abijah, the ninth to Jeshua, and the 10th to Shechaniah, the 11th to Eliashib, and the 12th to Jakim, the 13th to Hupa, the 14th to Jeshibeab,
Yeshabab.
the 15th to
Ishbal,
Bilgah, the 16th to Immer, the 17th to Hezer, the 18th to
So
Happy
much.
says, the
Happy.
19th to Pethahiah, the 20th to Jehiel, Jehiskel,
Which is
Jehiskel, that's
Ezekiel.
what it is.
Yecheskel.
What?
Short vowels.
It's Ezekiel actually. It's Yecheskel. It's the same word.
Oh,
It's the
yeah?
same. Yeah. it's
Ezekiel.
Yecheskel.
Yeah, I see it now. Oh, interesting.
It is. Yeah, I think it's slightly spelled different now.
Okay.
This one's.
The 21st
got,
to
like, the-
Jachin, the 22nd to Gamul, the 23rd to Deliah, and the 24th to Maaziah.
Maaziah.
Maaziah. Okay. So spelled M-A space
Maaziah.
Z-I-A-H.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the thing. When you have names with like a double A or an EA, they're pronounced separate. So Be'ab.
Okay, so Aaron is pronounced Aaron.
That one is. It's more like Aharon.
Aharon. Aharon.
Yeah, but that one's weird. That one don't pronounce the. Just do the English.
Contradictions in names as well as the Bible.
Well, it's more like there is an English tradition of certain names, like Aaron, but the names that don't have it like an English tradition is just easier to read it. I think if you use
Don't get
short
me started on
vowels,
the English language.
short vowels and no diphthongs.
What we need to carry away from this is this is the uber galactic cosmic God that created all of the different planets and all the different galaxies, and this is the timeless message for all of us for all time.
Yeah, all I saw when I saw this was like, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
It's more like you get bureaucracy, and you get bureaucracy, and you get bureaucracy.
Exactly.
These had their appointed duty in their service to enter the house of the Lord according to the procedure established to them by their ancestor Aaron, as the Lord God of Israel had commanded him.
So, sorry. Before we continue on, I just need to clear something up here. So it says that in what was it, verse 4, that they organized them under 16 heads of ancestral houses of the sons of Eliezer. Oh, sorry, and 8. Okay, never mind. I just remembered the 16. Never mind.
Okay.
Math. Okay.
And the rest of the sons of Levi, of the sons of Amram and Shubael, of the sons of Shubael, Jediah and Rehabiah, and the sons of Rehabiah, Ishiah, the chief of the Izharites, Shelamoth, I remember that monster, Shelamoth, the sons of Shelamoth, Jahath, the sons of Hebron, Jeriah the chief, Amariah the second, Jahaziel the third, Jekameam the fourth, the sons of Uziel, Micah, of the sons of Micah, Shamir, the brother of Micah, Isaiah. Is that Isaiah too?
Yeshia.
Yeshia. Okay.
Yeshia.
Of the sons of Ishia, Zechariah, the sons of Merari, I like that one, Mali and Mushi.
Mushi has already been.
This chapter was
I like
made
that.
for you,
Mostly
Aaron.
a Mushi.
It was made for you.
That's my favorite name now, Mushi. The sons of Jaiziah, Bino. Oh, good, we included Bino. The sons of Merari.
Weird. It's actually, I mean, no, it's actually very weird.
no.
It's the sons of Ya'aziyahu, his son, which.
So the son
Yeah.
of the grandsons of the. Oh, for fuck's sake!
I think there's a textual mistake there.
Yeah.
Glitch.
In the Bible?
Yeah.
Okay. Then let me see. The sons of Merari of Jaaziah, Bino, Shoham, Zachar, and Ibri. Of Mali, Eleazar, who had no sons. Of Kish, the sons of Kish, Jeremiel, the sons of Mushi, Mali, Eder, and Jeremoth. These were the sons of the Levites according to their ancestral houses. These also cast lots corresponding to their kindred, the descendants of Aaron, in the presence of the king, David, Zadok, Ahimelech, and the heads of the ancestral houses of the priests and of the Levites, the chief as well as the youngest brother, because that's what we need to know from now on and deep into the future, is who the fuck Zadok was.
Well, it definitely, when this was written, it definitely had a big, not an impact, but like it was important at the time when this.
I'm sure it was really important in South America at that time.
Right, exactly.
Like
maybe in Taiwan. Yeah, I'm sure they were really impressed with Zadok.
I mean, I know.
Yeah.
I would say I know that people will sometimes like discredit Chronicles, and because like it's so boring or like genealogies like don't matter, but there is a reason that somebody wrote that stuff. I mean, there is a reason why people like the genealogies, because they like tracing their history. I mean, there is a reason why this stuff was written, and that's like I don't
the criticism shouldn't be that this is all rubbish, it's not relevant to today. The criticism should be like, this is obviously relevant to a specific time, and therefore we can learn something about who was writing this and how it's not, divine,
and what their reasons were.
Yes, that's all very important, but we have to recognize that it's also boring as shit.
Accurate.
Rivers Braggery misheard what one of the names and thought I said shish kebab.
I was waiting for Ming the Merciless in there, but
It's like traffic statistics. They're actually very useful and important to maintain. Also, goddamn boring.
Well, you should be thankful that I only have 2 pages of commentary in this chapter.
Oh
Yay.
God, I need to get
Yeah.
high.
As much as I would like to check on all the names and like all the textual stuff that's happening there, I don't want to
thank you.
bore people.
Thank you.
But before that, I think there's another comment.
What?
Yep, Sable Eagle number 3. Did Mushi have a partner called Hussein and go into the crossbow business? That'd be a Walker cult if they did.
Is that a gun joke?
I don't get it.
I think it's a reference to a show I don't know, but
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay,
Go ahead,
so,
Tomir.
yeah,
Put us to
so
sleep.
sure. I'll start in verse 2. Nadab and Abihu died before their father did. This is a reference to an incident recorded in Leviticus 10:1-5 and Numbers 8-4 and 26-61, in which Nadab and Abihu offered strange fire before Yahweh and were subsequently consumed by the fire itself. The chronicler omits any reference to the sin of Nadab and Abihu and states that they died without having any children. Klein writes that this omission and his changing of a local reference before Yahweh to a temporal one before their father indicates the chronicler's desire to shift attention from their sin and the resultant punishment to a focus on Aaron's remaining heirs and their priestly descendants.
Yes, because God forbid we have any of the interesting stories in this fucking snooze fest. But it is good to bring up the backstories because obviously they were trying to make things look a little nicer, and I can't blame them. God is very, very burny, very smitey.
Yeah, there might have been something like maybe there was a Levite family that claimed descent, or I should say, a priestly family that claimed descent from those 2 sons, and if so, they would have been older, and so have taken precedence for like high priesthood. And so maybe the story of them dying without any children was kind of like highlighted to say you can't be priests because whatever.
Your claim is illegitimate.
Yeah.
And no doubt there's lots of political pissing contests going on in the background of these things. It's the only way in which I can consider it interesting because it is relevant to, like we said, who's writing it and why and what are their goals and.
It's because these guys cranked out a bunch of idiot kids and they want to make a list.
Yeah.
Well, they could have just named them all with the same first letter like the Duggars did.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Glad that I do not know who these are.
Oh,
well, they're going to name somebody Shimmy.
Yeah,
They may as
be
well name the
really
rest
glad.
of them Shimmy, Shimmy, Coco Pop.
Shimmy is actually a common Jewish nickname for Simon. Shimon.
Okay.
So Shimmy is the nickname. Yeah.
I guess. I don't
mean,
really
maybe not that
know.
common, but I mean, Shimon is not the most common name, but it's
It was common
nickname.
enough.
Shimon is quite common. I've met several Shimons.
Right, and Shimmy is a common nickname for Shimon.
I'm trying to remember the name of the 2 Jewish brothers that were on Canada's Worst Driver. Their names were very much like that. Like it literally sounded like Shlemiel and Shlomo. Like it wasn't quite.
Another brother, Daryl.
Shlemiel is a Yiddish word for someone who's like has bad luck.
I know.
No, it's a klutz. It's like a clumsy person. A schlemazel is someone who has bad luck. Shlemiel drops the soup. Schlemazel has the soup dropped on them.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the other one.
We are making some old references today. Are we
Something
really
like that.
going to bring up Schlemiel, Schmazel? You can explain Hassenpfeffer Incorporated?
Please don't.
Oh.
Okay. On verse 4, on verse 4, a large number of leaders were found among Eleazar's descendants. Japhet comments, quote, "The primary of the house of Eleazar among the priests is presented as a result of biological prolificness. I hope I wrote this right, because if I didn't,
Proliferation?
no,
Prolificness.
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 Prolificness. Yes, thank you.
Prolificness.
God damn it, English.
Prolificness?
Prolificness. Yes, that's what she
Just
wrote.
say the act of being prolific.
Yes. They were more numerous than the sons of Itamar, and the divisions were thus proportionally determined. Proportionately determined. However, the procedure envisaged here is very unusual. The fathers' houses are not presented as organic social units developing from within, but as an external grouping of related persons, based on a preliminary counting of the male heads. The son of El-Azar consisted more fathers' houses only after they were counted and found more numerous by male heads. That is, a certain conventional number was expected to form an average father's house, or more appropriately, a division, and not an inherited affiliation. This too adds to the impression of the posterior nature of the account, rationalizing existing arrangements for which the original causes were utterly different.
And that makes sense. It does have still a bit of a flavor of the tribal way of life. If you think about, you have the head of the family and families that live together, but also if one of your kids has enough kids, you may need to split up, because that way of life, you can only have so many animals in one place. You can only have so much material in one place. And so the splitting off of families when they reach a certain, threshold would have been something, again, from sort of Bedouin lifestyle that at least it is a big part of the heritage of the people here, you can see.
On verses 7 through 18, Knoppers comments, quote, "The list of Ezra 236, i.e. Nehemiah 739, makes a connection between the house of Jeshua and the sons of Jediah, but it is unclear to which Yeshua the text is referring in Ezra 3:2 and Haggai 1:1, and whether this connection is original to the list. Along with Yehoyarib, the personal names Yedaya, Charim, Malkiah, Miyamin, Abiah, Shekaniah, Bilga, and Ma'atzia appear in one or both of the lists in Nehemiah 10, 3-14 and 12, 1-25, allowing for some textual variation. Conversely, many of the following names appear infrequently and are not otherwise attested as personal names in sacerdotal contexts. Seorim, Yakim, Chupa, Ishbal, or Yeshebe'av in the Masoretic text, Chetzir, Hapitzetz, and Gamul.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Ishbal is like in the Septuagint. Yeah, it's in the Ishbal in the Septuagint, Alexandrinus.
I like the way Comer says these like he knows them.
I wonder why.
It's a mystery.
I mean, I doubt you know someone called Gamul. But yeah.
Yeah,
I know Gumby.
Well, even if I did, because I've got people in my family that have names taken from religion, but they don't pronounce them the way that you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're anglicized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, double anglicized in the Mormon cases.
Yeah, that's like my uncle Heber.
Heber.
I think Comer said it was Heber.
Evel, I think.
Yeah. I could just imagine Heber, who talks like this, saying, "What was it, Heber?"
I mean, if it's a H at the beginning, the Hebrew might be like with a h sound, like Heber. Well, as far as I understand it, the hard ch sound is not original to, or at least in Hebrew there were two sounds, and over time they became one, and they sound more like but they should be more like the Arabic sort of like. It shouldn't really be.
It's a guttural G, right?
Yeah. It shouldn't really be, for example, hummus. It should be like hummus, like more soft. Hummus.
Yeah, I
like
guess.
The Arab would say it.
I guess.
That's not how you say homos.
Yeah. But like when it's transliterated as ch in English, that is probably, well, that's either k or ch. But when it's just an h in English, it's probably more of a soft like sound.
Yeah.
But modern Hebrew just pronounce both.
Yeah. Okay. On 21 through 31, Knoppers comments, quote, "At first glance, this introductory rubric seems puzzling. Why does the author speak
Rubric?
of rubric, what the fuck is this? Is English even? Why does the author speak of
No
the
one
rest
knows.
of the Levites if the singers, gatekeepers, and officers mentioned in 1 Chronicles 25 through 27 are also Levites? The most likely reference for this allusion is the genealogically based list in 23, 7 through 23. This second list purports to supplement the earlier one, yet as many have noticed, this second list of Levites in 24, 20 through 31 shares many names with the earlier catalog in 23, 7 through 23. In some cases, the second roster goes a second generation beyond the first. The new account also differs from the earlier account in the order it presents and in the surprising relationships it posits among certain names. The new roster only mentions Kohathites and Merarites. As opposed to the earlier catalog in 23, 7 through 11, no Gershonites are included. This is unexpected given that Gershon was Levi's firstborn, hence the relationship between this register and the previous register is not a simple one. And finally, on 27, Klein comments, "In addition to the usual sons of Merari, Machli, and Mushi, the genealogy adds a third son to this family and then lists 3 descendants in the following generation. This major change in the genealogy leads Japhet to question whether this genealogy can be dated securely within a single generation after 23, 7 through 24, Pace Williamson. Again, nothing is known of the additional 4 names, the last 3 of whom are additional Levitical families. The names Yatzia, Shoham, and Zakul occur only here in the Bible. Since the descendants of Yatzia are given before those of Machli and Mushi, one might infer that the descendants of Yatzia have gained preeminence among the sons of Merari." Yeah, that's it. No ancient Christians.
Yay!
They wouldn't have anything to say about this chapter.
Yeah.
Well, there's a name in there that kind of sounds like maybe it's Jesus if we take a couple
Yeah.
letters out. Can
I
we
mean,
that
Yeshua
way?
is
It's
Jesus,
the same
right?
name, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is the same
yeah.
name. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you the Messianic Jews will call him Yeshua, so, and it probably was
Yeah,
was
yeah.
his actual
That's probably the
name.
name.
So
Yeah, and it's
Joshua, Yeshua.
and it could help us date
Interesting.
the chapter because you know, Joshua in the Bible is the Hebrew is like Yehoshua, and like Yeshua seems to be just like a later version of the same name. I mean, I think actually, like in the Septuagint, like Joshua is actually called Jesus or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
Well,
It
if
is
we
the
are moving then to 26, then it falls upon the mighty chicken.
Ha
Yeah, I think
Keepers of
Good.
the gates, I'm guessing, yes.
Yeah.
How appropriate.
wait, 26.
If I cough, by the way,
25.
It's
Okay,
20.
yeah,
25,
yeah.
yeah.
I was going to say we jumped a whole set. I mean, I'm fine with
Yeah.
jumping.
We did 23
I'm
and
sure what else is
24.
Okay.
Oh, but you're right. Okay. My apologies.
The cantors. Okay, so mine's a little bit different. Just keep that in mind. So, for the liturgy, David and the senior army officers set apart the sons of,
Asaph.
Asaph. I'm going to do an
The
American. Mike.
sons and of He-Man. He-Man.
Of Asaph, He-Man, and the Masters of the Universe, known as Jeduthun, prophets. Oh, goodness gracious.
I'm pretty
who
sure the
proclaim
previous chapter we
themselves-
mentioned a She-Ra, didn't we? We mentioned something.
She-Ra.
sounding like
Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. All right, now we're gonna start getting some Thundercats in here somewhere. I'm sure of it. All right, let's see. Where am I? Okay, prophets who's accompanied themselves with lyre and harp and cymbal, and a list of what was made by those of these duties to perform. For the sons of Asaph or Asap, Zakur, Joseph, Nathaniah. Is that right?
Yeah, Nathaniel.
Okay, Nathaniah. Okay. Asherah.
Asarela.
Ashat. Wow, I missed that one.
Yeah,
Okay,
slight difference because I know who Asherah is. This is a different person.
I feel like I'm doing an attendance right now.
You
for
could
my
also read it
elementary
as
before I work out.
Asarela.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Bueller.
Yeah.
Bueller.
Bueller. Exactly. The sons of Asaph were under the direction of Asaph, who no kidding, who prophesies as the king's direction. For Jeduthun, sons of Jeduthun, good grief, Gedaliah, excuse me, Zeri, Yeshua or Jeshua,
Yeshaya.
Jesus.
This is more like Isaiah. It's
Yeah,
actually more
it's
like
Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Yeah,
and stuff.
it is Isaiah actually.
Honestly,
Is it Isaiah?
Where's the
I don't
I?
know why. I don't
Where's
know
the
why they
Y?
have different
I don't know.
transliterations for the same.
I don't
name.
know. It's
That's weird.
Hashabia.
Mhm.
Okay. Mathia. That's Mathis, I guess, or Matthias.
Matityahu.
Okay. I'm just calling Matt. Good old Matt. There were 6 of them under the direction of their father.
Oh, I thought that was another name.
No.
Hashabiah and Mathiah and 6, better known by his friend Nicky.
Nick, yeah. To the sound of lyre, prophesies with the glory and the praise of Yahweh. For Haman.
Also,
Heman,
it
sons
also
of
should
Haman.
note there are only 5 mentioned here, not 6.
Where's the 6? They lied to us. Or.
Trust the mathematician to point that out.
Yes.
Maybe it's missing shimmy or something like
It
that.
is missing. It is missing.
Yeah,
Shimmy.
it says Shema, yeah.
Yeah, there is a Septuagint.
Follow along here, okay. For Heman, sons of Heman, Bukia, Maniah, Uziel, Shabul, Jeremoth, or Mothma, just kidding. Hannah, or is it Hanani?
Hanani.
Hanani, okay. Wow, I'm actually
Eliaka.
I don't know why you're having so much trouble with this. These are so easy. Uziel, Shebuel, Jeremoth, Hananiah, Hanani, Aleliah, Gedalti, and Romanti Ezer, and Josh Bekashah. And
Josh Bekashah, Malachi, Hothir, Mazayoth, okay. Or Mazayoth. There we go. And all of these sons of Heman, the king's seer, these sounded the trumpet and the accompaniment words of God. God gave Heman 14 sons and 3 daughters. All of them sang at the temple of Yahweh under their father's direction to the sound of cymbals, crash, harps, blink, and lyre, bling, for the liturgy in the house of Yahweh at the king's direction.
I vote we just pronounce all these names from now on like they're 1980s cartoon villains.
For God had given He-Man 14 sons.
I think if you hear,
gay.
I think if you listen to Americans reading the names in the Bibles, suddenly the Catholics not wanting everyone to read the Bible starts making sense.
No kidding. That's why they don't. This thing. Look at this. Is the Catholic Bible. Look how thick this sucker is. This thing's massive. Maybe you can probably kill somebody with this. Well, anyway. All right. As of Jeduthun and Heman, those who had learnt, to sing to Yahweh, were registered with their kinsmen. The total of those who trained was 288. Because that's important. Please don't tell me there's 88 more people.
Just wait for
Nehemiah. Okay. Junior and senior, masters and pupil alike, they drew lots for I lost my place. For their term of duty. The first of whom the lot fell was the Asaphite Joseph, excuse me. The second of the Gedaliah. 12 with the sons of brothers. Okay, and brothers. The third was Zakur, 12th of the sons of brothers.
Gedaliah. I'm seeing how these things are pronounced weirdly. It's not Gedaliah, it's Gedali.
Gedali.
Yep, and sings for Rush.
Oh God, no.
Oh, this is great. The fourth was Isri, 12th of the sons of brothers. The fifth was Nethaniah.
Netanyahu.
Netanyahu. Where's the ow?
Yeah, I think that
the ow?
the transliteration normally skip that bit. So
there's no AO, there's OOW.
Yeah.
12
Netanyahu and Netanya is the same name. kind of.
Oh, for goodness
Kinda.
And
The
yeah,
6th
for
of
some reason the
Bukia.
transliterations like to use the short version, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Okay, 12th of his sons and brothers. The 7th was Jesh. I'm going to call him Jesh. 12 of his sons and brothers. 8 of Jesh again. 12 of his sons and brothers. The 9th was Matt. 12 of his sons and brothers. And the 10th was Shimei. 12 of those sons and brothers. The 11th was Azrael. Actually, Azrael, I know that from Diablo. Yeah. 12th of his sons and brothers. The 12th was Hashabiah, Hibiah, whatever. 12th of his sons and brothers. Oh, goodness. And the 13th was Shebiah, 12 with his sons. Why do they say 12 of his sons and brothers every bloody time?
Because
your
that's how they
translation
wrote
is
it.
weird, to be
Well,
honest.
It's
The translation I have is his sons and his brothers, 12.
Yeah, but
It's
now
like-
Ve'achav 12. Yeah.
Like
every
it
single time,
it says
though?
him, it says the name and his family, and then it just has the number 12 at the end. Like
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
but like every single one
is
is
12.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
interesting.
goodness. The 14th and Matt, 12 with his sons and brothers. The 15th with Jeremoth, 12 of his sons and brothers. I'm going to start using that as a catchphrase. The 16th of Hannah, 12 of his sons and brothers. The 17th of Josh, 12 of his sons and brothers. The 18th of Hanai, 12 of his sons and brothers. The 19th of Maloti.
Maloti.
Maloti. Oh,
I gotta wonder
okay.
what the women looked like back then. I mean, that's right. They didn't just
Miserable.
have one;
I'm
they
trying
would
to
have like
figure out
half
who's
a
who.
dozen. That'd be cranking out babies all the time.
Oh, I feel bad for them.
Well, this
Yeah,
this
well,
man probably had multiple
Normal
wives. to
people
be honest.
take a shit.
It was normal. It was normal to assume that they had
12 of
multiple
his
wives
sons
back
and
then.
brothers.
Yeah.
The 20th of Elitha, 12th of his sons and brothers. It almost sounds like what was it? Glory to God. Everyone says the thing that say glory to God and blah blah. Glory to God. It stands the same thing. All right. The 12th was Hothir, 12th of his sons and brothers. The 22nd was Gidalti, 12th of his sons and brothers. The 23rd was Mahazoy.
Machaziot.
Oh, forget that. 12
I
of his
think,
sons and brothers.
Yeah.
The
Mahazi.
21st was Romanti. Romanti Ezer? It's a romanticizer?
Romamti
Oh,
Ezer.
Nah, he's a romanticizer.
Or Romamti
He's-
Azel. Whatever you
what's up?
want.
What you were talking about
well-
before, whatever words you were saying, it sounded like Cab Calloway.
Does it literally mean like my high one is a help or something like that?
Exalt.
Or-
Actually,
Like
it already
Altus?
appeared. It already appeared before that, right? In verse.
yeah. But
In
it
verse
You know,
4.
I know
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
read this
But is
section
it-
before.
what does it mean?
but I
Romamti
think I
Ezer.
may have glanced over this because this is
It's
just
interesting that it's two
no.
words. Like it's a name with
It
two
is,
words.
yeah. Actually, in the verse 4, you could actually read this as a poem, almost. Have you noticed that?
This does have a
Gidalti,
real poetic feel
Eli
to it.
ata
It's possible
גידלתי
to-
ורוממתי עזר, יש בקשה מלותי הותיר. It sounds like a poem.
Not when I read it.
The names rhyme.
No, I think I understand what
I mean,
you're talking about.
גידלתי, what is גידלתי, romamti are verbs, right?
Right. I grew up.
Eli ata,
made-
my God, you are, or something like that, right? So yeah, commentators already know that this probably was originally a poem, which
Oh, and
was
then-
subsequently made to be a list of names.
You know,
Ah.
I bet that if this was slightly tweaked, and I'm actually being serious about this, slightly tweaked, it could have been actually done with song, almost like a hymn of sorts.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it could
Definitely
really be
has
like.
that. Because like
But
the
that
last thing I say, those like I said, the big one is that 12th of his sons and brothers, the little joke I was saying before, that could be like an ending of a verse or something.
refrain,
Like that for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every verse ends in the
Exactly, yes.
same, like, what it's like.
Da, 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 da,
Banav
da, da,
achav
12th of his
shnei
sons and brothers.
Well, I would
Yeah.
prefer a more black metal voice, but
I mean,
think
it's
it'll
kind of
work
like
out.
it's kind of like in Psalms you have Kilo Lam Chasto. There is a psalm like which ends in each verse with Kilo Lam Chasto. So
There's no one.
yeah, but
There's
but
lots of songs that just have that, like, You
they-
have like a verse and then the ending is always the same kind of.
It makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense if you remember that for a long time before any of this was written down, you were dealing with a largely oral society and history. And even when records began to be, taken, it was still most people would know their ancestry and their history through oral retellings and memorizations. And what do you do when you need to memorize something? You come up with a mnemonic device. You come up with a song. You get into a rhythm and a beat, and da 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 da. 12 of the Sons and Brothers. That's how this would have been remembered, with whatever degree of accuracy it did or did not have, for however many generations. And then someone comes like, okay, what's your genealogy? And someone, whoever's the family, whoever remembers the stuff in the family, just like would just sort of vomit it out.
Do you guys remember the Animaniacs, where one of the Animaniacs brothers actually sung the entire whole of all the countries in the world to the song?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of what this reminds me of.
Yakko.
Yakko, that's right. It's not Wacko, it's Yakko.
People sing it still.
Some of the commentary I really appreciate, because it's hard to find. It's hard to follow the Bible, especially here in Chronicles. It's just so boring, and my mind wanders off. And then Lilith mentions oral, and I went, "What?"
Yeah, even already
I was
makes
gonna-
my commentaries.
I was gonna say, like, if I want to remember the 12 tribes, I will, in my head, I'll just sing the song, right? 'Cause
See?
that's how I learned it in school, right? Leuven, Shimon, Levi, you heard it. Yes, there's like a tune that you remember, so it helps you. I mean, I don't know if Christians learn the 12 tribes of the song, but
Not to that tune. We tend to have the
No.
books of the Bible memorization tunes that take you from, through the Christian, particularly Protestant setup.
That makes sense.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. I can't remember the tune that one went to. I don't. I'm sorry, you guys have half hypnotized me to sleep. But yes, I'm not surprised.
Oral.
I'm a woman, so it doesn't work the same way. I performed experiments with a friend of mine where sitting
Wait, now my interest is piqued again. What did you just say?
Yes, a friend of mine and I experimented when sitting at a table with a group of men who were not paying attention to us. We would pepper certain words into completely mundane conversations and see what would pique their interest. It was telling.
There's like a British comedy skit where there's like the guy walks into the bar and he's like saying stuff, and then the person will be like, "Excuse me," and then he'll just he'll say something normal, but it rhymes kind of. It sounds the same. Yeah,
I've seen that one. Yes, I've seen that skit.
It's
remember who it
with
was though, but-
I always forget his
Monty
name.
Python.
That comedian.
John Cleese?
One of the two. Is it two Ryans or something?
No, it wasn't Monty
forget
Python,
the
I
names.
believe, but it was a different
No.
one. I did see
You
that.
know the
Yeah, it was
skit
very
where there's
good.
like a guy walks into the shop and he's like, "I want fork handles," and the guy's like, "Here you go, fork handles," and he's like, "No, I mean fork handles." You know, because it can mean fork handles or fork handles. You know, pumps. It gives you want to,
Especially if you try to do
pump,
the West Country
and
accent
he
or something
brings
like
him a
that.
foot pump and he's like, "No, pump size 12, wimp ladies." You know, like the two Ronnies. That's it.
That's right, two Ronnies. Now
Yes, I think it's a two
remember.
Ronnies
Yeah,
skit.
yeah.
The one I was
Yes,
thinking about.
it was
as well.
it was very funny.
Yeah, look up, I guess, two Ronnies bar, maybe. Probably will have the right one.
And not to give you guys too much excitement, we only have about 1 or 2 pages left of Chronicles 1.
Oh, thank fuck.
Yeah.
Too bad I have commentaries on all of them, right?
Oh,
God damn it.
Yeah, we'll be here another week.
Too bad.
you
Oh
guys
no.
came back for this? Man.
Yeah.
Toma continuing to
Yeah,
do those
you did not pick a
Chronicles.
great time to come back.
Okay.
in.
We got a comment from Robot Tacular, who says, "Bless Lisa Simpson for demonstrating that proper lineage of the Bible would be impossible without genetic diversity as opposed to incest among Adam and Eve's offspring."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you're looking for the two Ronnies basket, yeah, you can search two Ronnies drink order. Apparently.
Okay, chat, I want you guys to vote. Should I take the weed gummy and risk actually falling asleep on stream, or should I try to pay fucking attention sober?
You know what Peter could probably do. Actually, I
I
don't know
don't
if Peter
believe.
could do it.
Do you see me with my rum here? This is not about sobriety.
That is
Yeah,
true.
these are white people edibles. You know, you remember the viral TikTok? Why do white people make the edibles so strong? What are you running away from? I'm like, everything.
I don't know if I'm not sure. I don't think Peter can actually run this. But Aaron could run a poll if
Do
you
you
need.
Yeah,
think he
I was asked in chat
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
I can't make a poll. Only Aaron can.
Oh, yep. Which means we're not getting a poll. Okay.
Sorry.
I didn't
Okay.
want to say that.
F in chat for. Okay.
I'm just watching the chat. Votes. I've been. What is it? Downside is having to raise things. I don't have tequila, love. I think I have a little bit of leftover bourbon.
I've
from
got all
some
kinds
American...
of shit. Woman, come over here.
Oh my god, I tried
Okay.
a vodka that
From
was
milk a snake.
watermelon and like barley or something. It was fucking weird.
What
Are you
the
talking about
fuck?
Robinsons?
I'm not
Are you talking
sure.
about like squash?
No,
No,
like
I'm not sure.
I am literally
concentrate.
making my own lilac syrup liqueur thing right now, and even I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, fruit juice concentrate with
Woo!
barley is not bad. What is
This is a friend who made this. It is.
Dude,
no
you have a
longer,
friend in there?
that? I'm like,
Oh,
there's
thanks,
is
so
there a
much.
little
Just
pony
friend.
in
Not
there?
anymore. He's been liquefied. We did it the Dune style.
Oh.
No, this is 110 or 120 proof battery acid, as I call it. That stuff is quite lethal. And
Wait, how can you have over
Sure.
100 proof?
110 proof?
Oh,
Stuff-
proof.
Proof is the double of the percentage.
Yeah,
Notice
Yeah.
how
Oh,
they try to avoid
Yeah.
that.
it's not enough. It's not
I thought
enough,
it was just-
Jeff. I've got rum that is 160 proof. Great rum.
Oh, you have
Oh,
the
I
one
see.
on
So when
150.
Americans say they're drinking blah 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 proof, it's actually half of that.
Yes.
This is actually
Okay.
nasty. Ah, Captain's?
Uh,
Where's that say
you
Jerry's?
got me beat. Only 93.
All right,
Oh, that's
I'm getting.
is that black
There
seal?
is a vodka. There is a vodka that you can get that's 97.
Yeah, black. Yep. I know that stuff. It's good stuff.
Well, it's Black Heart, not Black Heat.
Black heart.
I bought it because of the girl on the label and because it was cheaper than Captain Mo for the same amount.
I was like, scroll for myself. Oh God.
But I decided I like it. It's really good sipping rum.
I think I
Is it
should
a-
start.
Is it a spice rum?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes,
Connor.
of course.
Okay, because
I don't
a
do that
friend of mine
Bacardi.
gave me
Into a
rum
beach
the other
ball.
If
day.
you're gonna give me
that was not-
Bacardi, it has to be rum and Coke. I can't drink it straight.
That is some
Yeah.
strong gummies. Lilith just turned into a ball.
Okay. Hey, Tomer, why are you holding up the show?
Yeah, always
Yeah,
my fault, right?
All you.
Okay. So on verse 1, the ministry of prophesying accompanied by harps, lyres, and cymbals. Knoppers notes that the concept of prophecy in Chronicles is broader in scope. In 2 Chronicles 24, 19 through 22, Zechariah the priest prophesies. Yahweh communicates his will through the prophets, both in ad hoc matters and in law, quote, for the commandment is by the hand of Yahweh through the prophets, end quote, 2 Chronicles 29, 25. Rabbinic, i.e. Targum and traditionals, and early Christian sources like Luke 1, 67 through 79, 2, 27 through 35, and 10, 21 and 22 link between prophecy and song. Klein writes that while the playing of instruments alone might be interpreted as prophesying, it is more likely that the chronicler has both vocal and instrumental music in mind when he speaks of the prophesying of the singers. He writes, quote, Rothstein argued that the singing of psalms to the accompaniment of instruments could be described as prophetic proclamation. King Hezekiah, for example, commanded the Levites to praise Yahweh in psalms, or as he put it, quote, with the words of David and of the seer Asaph, end quote, in 2 Chronicles 29:30. Nearly half of the canonical Psalms are ascribed to David in the Masoretic text, and Psalms 50 and 73 through 83 are ascribed to Asaph. Psalms 88 and 89 mention in their captions the singers Heman and Eman the Ezrahite and Ethan the Ezrahite, and 10 psalms are assigned to the sons of Korach, who are probably also to be numbered among the singers. Both the Psalms of David and the Psalms of the Levitical singers were probably considered prophetic by the chronicler, so that in singing these psalms, the musicians would be repeating prophetic words.
I mean, it speaks to the difference between how we understand the function of prophecy now and the perceptions we have of it in the past and what it actually would have been in the past, because it's been a little while since we had this discussion, but I know we did talk about the difference between predicting something and creating it. The idea of, if the prophet says such and such thing will happen, it makes it happen, or he predicts it, which one is it? And the difference in perception, but also music as a spiritual element, as in some way invoking the divine just through being music, is definitely and always has been a part of religions. One of the less fucked up parts, actually. Sometimes people will be really hung up on the words and the text and, the Lord inhabits the praises of his people. Does that mean they have to be explicitly singing about the Lord, or is it sacred songs performed in the right spirit and with the right rights? And I don't think there would have been as much of a difference in those ideas in the past as we put on them today.
Oh, definitely not. I agree with you. Music's kind of an interesting thing too. It helps not only remember, but it's also a way of showing your love of divinity for whatever it is you're speaking about too. So
music is far more divine than doctrine. I'll give it that.
Oh, absolutely.
See, the weed didn't make me stupid. So it probably hasn't really hit yet, but
so do the perfect white woman thing and decide that the first gummy didn't do anything and take it.
Yeah,
that's a first timer thing.
Yeah, my mom did that once.
Unintentional first time.
And then you get the munchies and you take a third, and then you can't tell where your feet go. No, I'm sorry. I am from the land of the free. We know how the gummies work.
Okay. On verse 2, Japhet comments, quote, the position of the Asaphites at the head of the list is probably a sign of their priority among the singers. In other lists, the singers as a whole are regarded as the sons of Asaph in Ezra 2:41, and the special position of Asaph is emphasized also in 2 Chronicles 29:30 and 35:15. Yet, in spite of their seniority, they comprise only 4 fathers' houses and form the smallest group among the singers. This means that in the actual temple establishment, the families ascribed to Asaph formed only a minority, while the house of Heman was gaining momentum. Compare also 15:17, etc.
Does anyone else find it disturbing that the best way to get power for your house was to outbreed everyone else?
No, that's what Haredis do all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I said it's gross.
Yeah, but they don't do that for power. They do that because they're not allowed to use birth control.
Also, consider how many people died, in childbirth or didn't make past the age of 10. So that was a massive, massive issue for the whole be fruitful and multiply, was to make sure that your house was secure. That was in play, honestly, until the invent of penicillin, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah, and was greatly helped by vaccines, but then men kept trying to push women to have their progeny. And
yeah, I think people had more births back in the day. They just didn't have that many surviving children.
That's very true. That's very,
and nowadays,
true.
Like religious communities or traditional communities are more likely to just keep doing the same thing, even though medicine has caught up, and they end up
like my father's family
that they can afford. And then they're like, well, if our parents could do it, why can't we? Well, because they didn't have to pay for it.
Because half their kids died.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also a
Yeah,
way
they're
to
very
keep the
much
poor
into like,
poor.
you know, it's a blessing from God. God chose you to have children, so He will make it work for you. That makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
That's a very good excuse for anything. And if you hear that sound, that any voice saying that, be warned. That's basically a dead giveaway that it's an excuse to keep you poor and under control, because children are expensive, and withholding the capacity for especially more permanent birth control from women was a way to keep the poor from ever being able to accumulate any kind of wealth and resources that would carry on generation to generation and actually build beyond sustenance levels.
yeah, but sometimes the belief just gets like embedded into the cultural, like, I don't know what the word is, like
Yeah.
feel. Like, you don't even have to have someone preaching it. It's just a thing that you know because everyone else knows that, and it's like you brought up with this idea of like, you know, you have as many kids as you can, and then God will provide. You know.
Yeah. No, I do know. I do know. And that's, but it's, yeah, with a lot of these doctrines, I look at, like, there's the original reason it comes to be, and there's something of an evolved reasoning of how and why it is maintained, even by people who do have the capacity to know better. Yeah, the mind will always just keep doing
As
the
the
thing.
Bible explains, you have as many children as you possibly can, even though food and other resources are scarce, because as the Bible explains, when you run out of food, you can eat the kids.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, it does have that.
I mean,
What's the human term for veal?
Short, long pig?
Oh, oh.
Okay.
We're having
Yeah.
kid night. Goats?
Oh,
Sure, yeah.
Is that what we call them, kids? Oh.
I feel like we'd leave the goat for last.
Okay, on verse 3, 6 in all. The Masoretic text only lists 5 sons: Gedaliah, Tzeri, Yeshaya, Chashabiah, and Mattathiah. A few Hebrew manuscripts and Septuagint have Shimei in addition. Pseudo-Rashi writes that Jeduthun's wife was pregnant with Shimei, and he saw through the Holy Spirit that he too was destined to be the chief of the watch, and therefore it is stated 6. Knoppers takes the Masoretic text reading to be a case of epigraphy, which is confirmed both by the total of 6 later in the verse and the appearance of Shimei in verse 17. Klein, however, writes that Shimei was inserted from verse 17 to make 6 people as required. On verse 4, the second part of the verse has been recognized among commentators to have a poetic nature and style. For example, the name Eliata could be a combination of Eli, my God, and Ata, you. Gidalti means I have exalted, and Romamti Ezer means I have made help lofty. Thus, Dirksen notes that scholars agree that these names form a psalm fragment or some psalm lines. Knoppers proposed the following construction, quote, "Be compassionate to me, O Yahweh, be compassionate to me. You are my God, I have magnified, and I will exalt my helper. Living in adversity, I have spoken, be generous with revelations," end quote. And Klein comment,
So that version starts from the name Hanania and goes all the way to the end of the verse, rather than just
yes,
the 3 names that you mentioned before.
yes.
That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the names at the end of the verse. That's pretty good interpretation.
Yeah. And Klein comments, quote, "While there are elements of a lament form in these lines, it is certainly not great poetry or stylistically impressive Hebrew." I like that.
Yeah, I
Kindred
don't
spirits
chronic-
agree.
The
Chronicle,
memorization
like-
list is not exactly expected to be one of Shakespeare's greatest monologues.
When the chronicler comes across your poem and he thinks it's so shit that he turns it into a list of names. That's what happens
So-
here.
He writes.
Here, let me fix it for you.
He continues, quote, "For these reasons, Myers analyzed it as a series of insipids or first lines of poems, but this analysis explained at best 60% of the poem. Rudolph has proposed that the individual singers were known for reciting a particular poem in which the word by which they are named occurred, but the Sumerian parallel on which this has been partially based has been sharply criticized by Peterson. While many of the proposed reasons for this strange development from poetic fragment to list of names makes some sense, no interpretation is fully convincing. What remains convincing to me, however, is that these are not normal names, and that their names, when viewed together, can be understood as the language of prayer."
So he's saying like possibly that these are nicknames for singers based on the psalms that they were known to sing. Like there was some guy who always sang psalms that began with, Hanania, what was it? Like
My English lit
Hanania,
teacher.
Hanani, and then that was turned into two names or something. Yeah.
My English lit teacher had us memorize groups of 4 synonymous words so we could recite them all. And it was more interesting than this. We could actually sing them to deck the halls too. Ample, spacious, commodious, capacious, appease, mollify, propitiate, and pacify, dulcet, melodious, mellifluous, euphonious, glib, fluent, articulate, and eloquent, combative, belligerent, bellicose, and truculent, exuberant, buoyant, effervescent, ebullient, diligent, industrious, acidulous, and sedulous, gall, audacity, effrontery, temerity. And there are a small handful of people in the world who will know.
Glad to see the gummies kicking in.
No, I'm
sound
still
like
just
that.
bored.
Yeah.
You
It
sound like that
reminds me
lady.
about when I was in middle school and somebody asked us to list the presidents. And I said Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Quincy, Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk, Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, McKinley, Theodore, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter. But that
You
was when I
forgot
was
a
in
few.
middle school. So it stopped at Carter.
Oh,
Not
Which would have
bad.
been actually
Not many
great
people actually can do that. That's
if
pretty
America had just stuck with Carter. That would have been that was a
Oh,
good place
yeah.
to stop.
That was, yeah,
awesome.
it was with Reagan, it went all downhill.
It really did.
there's a horrible
Okay.
history song for like the kings and queens of England, which is pretty
Guys,
catchy.
Tomer's getting bored, all right? He wants to continue his commentary.
Yeah, exactly.
Lumiere, quit holding up the show.
Yeah,
Jeez,
always my
man.
fault.
Where there's a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you say there's a comment? I don't see a comment here.
it
Yeah, whatever,
hasn't showed
comment.
up yet.
Oh.
It hasn't copy pasted into the private chat yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, by
There we go.
itself.
there we
Okay,
go.
my
No, it has.
unfinished kerning sock offers $2 and says, "Don't OD on the edibles. Like and share instead."
Of course.
You can do both. Have a party.
Okay, on verse 5, they were given him through the promises of God to exalt him. Hebrew Bible reads, according to the promises of God to raise up a horn. The phrase to raise up a horn in Hebrew leharim keren could mean to exalt him, as we see in 1 Samuel 2:1 and 10, Psalm 75:5, Meyuchas, Potseko, Dirksen, Japhet, and Selman, but also to sound the horn, as we see in Targum, who was to sound the ram's horn. It is unclear if this phrase refers to Yahweh or to Heman. Knoppers notes that many, like Kale, Benzinger, Kittel, and Curtis and Madsen, would connect this phrase with what follows in verse 6. The divine gift of many children to Heman heightened his prestige. Many commentators suggest reading raise his horn in Hebrew leharim karno, with the vav being omitted due to haplography. On verse 6, on verse 6, Asaph, Yeduthun, and Heman. Knoppers comments, quote, the 3 patronyms serve as organizing principles for the singers. Some commentators wish to distance Asaph, Yeduthun, and Heman from their descendants as prophets. In other words, it is conceded that the original 3, Asaph, Heman, and Yeduthun, are regarded as prophets in some sense, but not their sons. The difficulties with this view are twofold. First, the sons are also said to prophesy in verse 1. Second, even if the descendants were not included, the picture of the original three would still be significant because of the connection between eponymous ancestors and their descendants. The authors of Chronicles, writing during the Persian period, many centuries after David's reign, were interested in justifying institutions of their own time by recourse to what they regarded as Israel's classical past. The traditions begun by Asaph, Heman, and Yeduthun are carried on by their descendants. Given this vital linkage, very much the point of the chapter, the two cannot be dissociated. On verse 7, 288. This refers to the 24 divisions, each with 12 members, with a total of 288 singers. Japhet notes that despite the typological nature of the number, it is still relatively small and is comparable to the number of musicians in the list of the returnees, 128 in Ezra 2:41 or 148 in Nehemiah 7:44, as against over 4,000 priests.
Yeah, it seems to be like, I mean, it makes sense that you're not going to have the entire tribe coming to the temple to sing. You're going to have a certain number of singers, but and divided by the year or something, like every week a different.
They must have had a rotation.
Yeah, but it's a bit interesting that they went with 24 divisions. Like maybe it's like a 2-weekly thing. Whatever.
I suppose it depends on how frequently they would have to sing in some capacity. I mean, they didn't have bells to ring every hour. Well, they didn't have a belfry at any rate. But, there'd be obviously more intricate and dramatic ceremonial things, but also possibly just daily maintenance stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there was I think there's supposed to be like accompaniment to each morning, afternoon, evening service sort of thing in the temple. So
like the prayers that the Muslims over the similar.
Yeah, I don't know if
not exactly, but
Christian bells and the muezzin is more of a call to prayer, as like a public call to prayer, and this would have been more like the accompanying music inside a church. So I don't, and they probably would have happened at specific times of the day, but they weren't necessarily used as.
I mean more in that sense of being at certain times of day, and possibly there would have been something that could sound out in the event of morning and evening prayers or something like that.
Yeah, I mean there is a story that there was some queen who donated to the temple a golden eagle which was placed above the door, and then every day as the sun would come over the hills in the morning, it would hit that eagle and it would light up, and then everyone would know it was time to say the first prayers of the day or something like that.
And we got a comment from Daniel Brooks, said, Aaron, who's your all-time favorite U.S. president? That's completely irrelevant here, but it would be the president who was president on the day that I was born, because he was the only one that I saw as progressive, as looking for the future, as saying that, we will not do these things because they are easy. We do these things because they are hard.
Oh, James Madison.
John Adams.
I'm British and I know the answer. I just can't remember his name.
So Aaron, what you're saying is basically that America went downhill after you were born?
Thanks for putting it that way.
The truth comes out at last, everyone.
Do you by any chance have a numerical tattoo somewhere in your hairline?
Oh goodness.
No.
See, Aaron and Jeff know what I'm talking about.
Okay, finally, on 9 through 31, Dirksen comments, quote, the order of names differs from that in verses 1 through 6, because lots are now drawn. Yet, as most exegetes acknowledge, the writer has applied a certain system. P.F. von Hummelauer conjectures a real drawing of lots, which proceeds according to a predetermined scheme. Some other exegetes, like Japhet and Klein, also surmise a combination of planning and drawing of lots. But if we assume that we are dealing with a literary construction here, The question of how the lots were drawn is beside the point. The result is the authors. The most striking feature is that the last 9 names are the added names of Haman's sons.
Is
I'm
the
a little
Klein with the
confused as
J?
to how all these people are drawing Lot, yet we still don't know what he looks like.
It's a Klein with IG.
IG.
Oh, Aaron, you and I were on the same wavelength. I didn't want to say anything.
Just let the
I
dad
was not
jokes
saying a
pass.
thing.
Just let them flow by.
Hey, I'm here. It's gonna be happening.
All right, you said finally, Tomer. You got any Christians?
Yes, I have one Christian,
Ah!
No.
and that is Cassiodorus, who said
Cassie Nandor?
Cassiodorus, who said that the division of singers.
Doris
No,
is
go
my
ahead,
favorite.
go ahead, Tomer.
Who said that the division of singers point to a rational part consisting of the human voice, an irrational part comprising musical instruments, and a common part resulting from the fusion of the two.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, we have to find a trinity somehow.
Yeah, and I don't understand why Christian apologists are talking about anything rational. It seems like they've lost that ability. Anyway, are we moving on to 26?
Yes.
Okay. As for the divisions of the gatekeepers, the Korahites, Meshelemiah, son of Korah, and the sons of Asaph. Meshelemiah had sons, Zechariah the firstborn, Jediah the second.
Wait. Stop, because your microphone just.
No, it was fine.
Just
No,
start
it just
again.
like-
It's probably fine.
Yeah, do it now. Do it
No,
again.
Yeah, try again. You're
Yeah,
you're
try
right
again,
there.
because,
Right there.
Zebediah the third,
There we go.
Jothniel the fourth, Elam the fifth, Jehohanan the sixth, Eliahonai.
It's
sorry.
John.
Sorry,
It's
I
It's
John.
just
literally John.
hopped back in. My connection got really weird for a second.
Oh,
Did you want me to do 26? It looks
I
like
was-
there's
No,
some names here.
Do you
No,
want
our-
to read
Okay.
26?
I mean, I can, yeah, because I know you already read one today. So
I mean, I don't mind reading another one. Yeah, go ahead, take it over, because I'm stumbling through all these
Already started it.
I think Aaron's doing
unpronounceable Hebrew
very well.
names.
well, that's okay. As for the divisions of the gatekeepers of the Korahites, Meshelemiah, son of Korah, of the sons of Asaph, Meshelemiah had sons: Zechariah the firstborn, Yediel the second, Zebediah the third, Yathniel the fourth, Elam the fifth, Yehohanan the sixth, Elihonai the seventh. Obed Edom had sons: Shemaiah the firstborn, Yehozabad the second, Yoah the third, Sakar the fourth, Nethanel the fifth, Amiel the sixth, Issachar the seventh, Puletai the eighth, for God blessed him. Also,
I hate that you came in here and read that with such competence.
it wasn't. I'm not confident about it. I'm shy if
I do want to mention that Yehohanan.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
this one
Lawrence,
is-
your connection was out at the moment when I was reading it. Yes, you were competent.
Aaron's quite good. Yeah, the name Yehohanan is literally John, like John.
No.
John
More like
is
Jonathan.
Yeah,
Jonathan.
Without
No.
the hey, it's Yohanan, which I think it refers to John.
It's
right.
the same name. as
Yeah.
the
Oh, is it?
Kinda.
It's very close. There's an
Yohanan, there is-
Yochanan and Yehohanan two different names.
Yohanan. I mean,
Okay,
I mean,
maybe.
technically
maybe
they are
that's-
two different names, right?
Right, but I'm saying the Christian name John comes from like
Yohanan,
Johannes,
yeah.
which is
Yohanan, sorry.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but we should probably say a quick happy birthday to that Opal guy because it is his birthday. So happy birthday.
Happy
Hey.
birthday.
Happy birthday. I won't sing anything.
No.
Show me.
I'll sing it in my heart.
And that's
Oh.
where that should stay.
Happy
Also,
birthday, buddy.
to his son Shemaiah, sons were born who exercised authority in their ancestral houses, for they were men of great ability. The sons of Shemaiah, Othni, Raphael, Obed, and Elzabad, whose brothers were able men, Elihu and Samachiah. All these, sons of Obed-Edom, with their sons and brothers, were able men qualified for the service. 62 of Obed-Edom. Meshalima, sorry, I fucked that one up. Meshalemiah had
Meshalemiah.
sons and brothers, able men 18. Hosha, the sons of Merari, had sons. Shimri, Hosa, of the sons of Merari.
Now he sounds more like me.
Yeah, of the sons of Merari had sons. Shimri the chief, for though he was not the firstborn, his father made him chief. Hilkiah the second, Tabaliah the third, Zechariah the fourth, all the sons and brothers of Hosa totaled 13. These divisions of the gatekeepers, corresponding to their leaders, had duties, just as their kindred did, ministering in the house of the Lord. And they cast lots by ancestral houses, small and great alike, for their gates. The lot for the east fell to Shelemiah. They cast lots also for his son Zechariah, a prudent counselor, and his lot came out for the north. Obed-Edom's came out for the south, and to his sons was allotted the storehouse. For Shechem and Hosa it came out for the west at the gate of Sheleketh on
Sounds
the
a bit like a
ascending
priest
road.
draft.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Guard corresponding to guard. On the east, there were 6 Levites each day. On the north, 4 each day. On the south, 4 each day, as well as 2 and 2 at the storehouse. And for the colonnade on the west, there were 4 at the road and 2 at the colonnade. These were the divisions of the gatekeepers among the Korites and the sons of Merari. And hold on, let me see where I'm going. Okay. And of the Levites, Ahiah had charge of the treasuries of the house of God and the treasuries of the dedicated gifts. The sons of Leiden, the sons of the Gershonites belonging to Leiden, the heads of families belonging to Leiden, the Gershonite Yehieli. The sons of Yehieli, Zetham, and his brother Joel were in charge of the treasuries of the house of the Lord. Of the Amramites, the Isharites, the Hebronites, and the Huzielites, Shebuel, son of Gershom, son of Moses, was chief officer in charge of the treasuries. His brothers from Eliezer, his brothers from Eliezer were his son Rehabiah, his son Yeshaiah, his son Yoram, his son Zikri, and his son Shelomoth.
Shalom. I mean, the ketiv is Shalomoth, but Shalomit is the Kerei.
The Shelomoth and this Shelomoth and his brothers were in charge of all the treasuries of the dedicated gifts that King David and the heads of the families and the officers of the thousands and hundreds and the commanders of the army had dedicated. From spoil won in battle, they dedicated gifts for the maintenance of the house of the Lord. Also, all that Samuel the seer and Saul of Kish and Abner son of Ner and Joab son of Zeruiah had dedicated. All dedicated gifts were in the care of Shelomoth and his brothers. Now I know who to blame if anything goes missing. Of the Isharites, Kenaniah and his sons were appointed to outside duties for Israel as officers and judges. Of the Hebronites, Hashabiah and his brothers, 1,700 men of ability. So that's a lot of the Hebronites. Okay, but still, that's a big family. Had the oversight of Israel west of the Jordan for all the work of the Lord and for the service of the king. Of the Hebronites, Uriah was chief of the Hebronites. In the 40th year of David's reign, search was made of whatever genealogy or family, and men of great ability among them were found at Yazer in Gilead. King David appointed him and his brothers 2,700 men of ability, heads of families, to have the oversight of the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of the Manassites, for everything pertaining to God, for the affairs of the king. This is a very strange chapter. I mean, first you get a pretty common division of like how to set up the would this be the way this is outlined? It kind of seems like it could be the gatekeepers of the city or even the gatekeepers of the temple, because it specifically says that it specifically numbers the Levites that were on the sides each day. So I would think this is for the actual temple itself.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like the gates of the temple.
Yeah.
You mentioned like the storehouse, but I think it's supposed to be more like the gathering place, the vestibule of the temple.
It should be noted that some commentators think that either that verses 1 through 19, or at least some parts of verses 1 through 19, are not from the chronicler, probably like later editions.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and then for the rest of it, the treasuries, the officers, the judges. What I found kind of interesting was kind of near the end here. So yeah, of the Hebronites, Hashabiah and his brothers, 1,700 men of ability, had the oversight of Israel, west of the Jordan, for all the work of the Lord and for the service of the king. When it says there for all the work of the Lord, would they then have had some kind of religious duty outside of Jerusalem? Is that the idea here?
Yeah, it seems to be that they're appointed as like religious like overseers or something for different regions.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Which it makes kind of sense because the priests and the Levites were like did have until like much later like religious leadership roles in general, until like the Pharisees kind of was the breaking away from that idea, I think. So it would have made sense that the king would have used Levites as like emissaries or leaders in different parts of the country.
It also makes sense that there would have been the older tradition of, if the Levites, whether the original, first sons Levites or the presumed tribe, that they would have performed basically spiritual work for the people all across the land. And we've talked several times about the establishing of Jerusalem and the temple in Jerusalem as being a political and social move of construction. But I mean, people would have had altars, people would have had, you consult the local Levite, I presume, like you would a local priest. Like there would have been, they were supposed to initially disperse amongst the people and see to their spiritual needs, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a later tradition where it's like, oh, they were like, well versed in the law and stuff like that. So if you had a question about, like nowadays when you ask you go to your rabbi to ask them, like, is this chicken kosher or something? So back then they would have gone to the local Levite or whatever, or priest, depending on who was there, I guess.
Is that when they started answering every question with a question?
I don't know. You tell me.
Maybe that's when. Maybe that's when the rabbinic system, like the Pharisees, maybe they're the ones who came up with that idea. They weren't exactly, they were, anti-culture, I guess. They weren't like priests in the temple or working for a temple who was expecting, tithes and parts of the offerings and stuff like that. So
no, I mean, originally, supposedly, the Levites were supposed to live off the portion that went to the Lord. And while you were perhaps supposed to go to the main sanctuary for certain things, it just for small events and things, and even offerings, like, wouldn't you have a local priest or Levite to take your sin goat for the back, whatever?
I don't think that. Well, I mean, the Jewish tradition is that they didn't do any sacrifices outside the temple.
Well, yeah.
After a certain point, maybe, but still.
But it's pretty clear from the text that the traditions are very much normal, and sacrifices everywhere, gods everywhere. older shrines at Dan and Beersheba. So, I mean, you see the remnant of what was in the text.
Right.
However much they try and rewrite history.
Right. I mean, and the people who were Levites or priests or whatever with different gods and different traditions, like they either would have been demoted or been absorbed into the Yahwist cult as being, oh yeah, you're just a Levite, which means you're a descendant.
We have a couple of messages here, by the way.
We have 2 actually.
2 of them.
Right. Say10-616 says, I wonder why God wanted to have these genealogies. Because he loses track, old guy. Maybe so people could verify Jesus's lineage and make it impossible to screw it up in the New Testament. If only Luke and Matthew could tell us.
Yeah. If only they didn't fuck it up.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Karub sent 5 R and Raw gift memberships. Thank you very much for that.
1 year gift memberships too.
No,
Yeah.
he's been a member for 1 year. Is what that is.
Oh, I thought that was like 1 year membership. Like, dude,
No, that'd be crazy.
that would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are because I am worried about how long it is taking us to get through the Bible, and if we can get through 4 chapters in one go. You said we're 2 pages away.
I mean, we First Chronicles is 29 chapters.
2, 3 pages.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to
28, 29 for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fairness, they are actually content and not just an absolutely mind-numbing list of names.
Yeah. I mean, my commentaries on 28 and 29 are quite long. I mean, I usually try to limit them to 5 pages, but I couldn't.
I am excited because my wife, I have to drive to an hour away from where I live to a town called Waxahachie, Texas, to go meet somebody who's going to adopt our dog number 6, our Rottweiler.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought that you learned your lesson before.
I learned. Talk to my wife. She's the one that adopts the dogs.
I see.
What happened to Weebles?
Yeah, we hadn't decided that we were going to bring Weebles home. Part of the problems that we have 2 dogs that are in the house currently that are cat reactive. And so while they are locked up in one part of the house, it is still possible on occasion that somebody might make a mistake or something and wind up in a dog with the wrong part of the house, and all of that. So, and the Rottweiler is one of those 2 dogs, and I think both of those 2 dogs are going to get adopted out this week. They're both on foster programs. We're trying to get somebody to adopt them. I think we have homes for both of them this week. I am probably not going to come home with my Rottweiler tonight. She is going to go off to a new home, and she needs one.
Yeah. You do have a lot of animal friends.
And she is one that needs one-on-one attention. She needs to look into your eyes and receive the pets and just coddle. And you can't do that with all the other dogs that are around. She needs one-on-one. And so somebody just lost their Rottweiler to cancer. Yeah.
Oh.
So that's where she's going.
Okay. Well, then she'll get lots of love, as she should. And I hope it works out very well.
Yep, me too. All right. So anybody closing comments, Lawrence?
I have commentary.
Yeah, you just received a little love yourself, Arn, the last message.
I completely forgot about my commentary.
Peter.
What the fuck?
Clip that, please.
Yeah, I got some closing comments.
Oh, God. Mwah.
Yeah. Also, you said you want to do 28 and 29 next time. Don't we have to do 27?
No, we can do 27, 28, and 29 next time.
Okay. Cool.
And that'll be fair. That'll close us out on this one.
So,
And then we can go read it in the Hebrew order, so we can have something interesting for a while.
No, we got 2nd Chronicles.
Okay.
There is more shit that happens in 2nd Chronicles.
I don't know why we didn't do the Hebrew order to begin with, but whatever.
Because
Arn, just to mess with Tom Eric, you need to read the last comment.
God's sake.
Peter, I don't see that the comment. The last comment listed.
These
for
are not
me-
comments. These are like memberships.
You
my
got-
I'll
you
read it.
got-
John
you got
Klein
another
sent
5.
5 R and Raw gift memberships. Thank you, John Klein.
Thank
Yes.
Thank you, John. You're awesome.
Yeah, nicely done, John.
So cool.
Okay,
Thank-
so I'll start with verse 1. Mishelemaya.
Tomer.
Yeah,
Jeez,
sorry.
I'd be going, man.
Meshelemaya. In Ezra Nehemiah, the ancestor, quote unquote, of the gatekeepers is called Shalom, as we see in Ezra 2:42 and Nehemiah 7:45, as well as Meshulam in Nehemiah 12:25. In Chronicles, the name Shalom appears in a text borrowed from Ezra Nehemiah in 9:17 and 19. And in other places, he's called Shelemiah or Meshelemaya in 9:21. Japhet writes that this is an important clue to the onomasticon of the period and the mutability of the names. She writes that it may indicate the chronicler's tendency to replace prevalent dialect forms like Shalom and Meshulam with normative classical ones.
Is it also important that it's adding, like, making it a theophoric name? By adding the Yahoo at the end or whatever, the Yah at the end?
Yeah, I guess it could be also said.
Because, yeah, Meshulam just means, like, peace or peace giver or something.
Yeah.
Peaceful one. And then Meshalemyahu is more like God is peaceful or something like that.
I will never get over that one of God's original names is Yahoo.
Yahoo!
Yahoo!
Well,
Yeah. Okay, on verse 4, Obed Edom. Elsewhere in Chronicles, Obed Edom is described as a Levite who served as a gatekeeper, as we see in 15 verses 18 and 24 and 16:38, and as a singer in 15:21 and 16:5. Verses 4 through 8 do not mention any genealogical link to Levi as Obed Edom's ancestor. Klein writes that the context suggests that he was too part of the Korach Kohath lineage, but no intermediary links are given. Johnstone assigns him to the Merarites. Knoppers notes that the discussion of Obed Edom's descendants in verses 4 through 8 is intrusive because it interrupts the discussion of Meshelemiah's descendants in verses 1 through 3 and 9. As to the reason why an editor added this material, he writes, quote, "It seems plausible that the editor introduced the list of Obed Edom's descendants to provide Obed Edom with a Levitical pedigree. In so doing, he may have shaped the list of Obed Edom's descendants to conform to the style of the surrounding material. Certainly, in their present form, the list of Obed Edom's descendants shares a considerable number of literary features with the rest of the gatekeepers list in verses 1 through 3 and 9 through 12. These include the concern with the firstborn, the use of ordinals in the Masoretic text, the repeated mention of sons and kinsmen, the motive of divine retribution, a well-recognized characteristic of the chronicler's theology, and the recurrence of martial terminology, such as warriors and valiant warriors, and warrior-like in strength. One should add that the association of Obed Edom, whatever his original pedigree, with the Levites is a distinctive aspect of the chronicler's work, as we see in 15, 18, 21 and through 24, 16, 38, and 2 Chronicles 25, 24. This increases the likelihood that his appearance here is no accident.
Is there an idea that in verse 7, the bit that's translated like his brothers, men of ability or whatever, is literally a name? Or both of them are names, I should say, like Echav and Bnei Chayil.
Echav Bnei Chayil, his brothers, men of
Because that's what
ability.
Steinsaltz has written. He has them as names. Probably because it makes the sentence not flow very well. The verse.
Oh, actually, yeah. I mean, it seems like Septuagint. Some Septuagint manuscripts has Kai Akiod or Kai Akio. And Allen revocalizes Achio.
Right.
What Targum is.
So there's even Septuagint manuscripts that instead of translating the name as his brothers, they just transliterated it as if it was another name. I mean, that's not a very good argument because the Septuagint does that with lots of things that should just be real words, but they don't know how to translate it, so they just transliterate them instead. But
Yeah.
if there's more than one
Um,
tradition that thinks that those are names rather than like normal words, then it could be an argument.
So much miscommunication when you ping pong back and forth between languages over centuries.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
I'm just
see what
saying
you
that
mean.
because of the Septuagint making this type of mistake so often, I think that because you could argue that it's just a mistake in this sentence and not a legitimate you know, you could argue it's just a mistake and actually these are supposed to be words in the Hebrew.
Yeah. And that it's not someone trying to cover something up or
Yeah. Okay. That's
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just an
onward-
interesting
sorry.
thing of where like it's just an interesting thing where like another case where the Septuagint translates something as a name when it should probably not be, but probably because the person doing it was like the Hebrew here is really badly written. This makes more. Maybe I should just make this into a
Yeah,
name.
I mean,
Yeah.
Knoppers writes the name Achio is attested elsewhere in First Chronicles in 831 and 937, and at Elephantine, but the context favors reading and his kinsman.
Right. So it is the name that existed at the time, but the context seems to say this is not a name. This is just a word that means his brothers, his kinsmen. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so on verse 5, for God had blessed Obed Edom. This note is in reference to 13:14, aka 2 Samuel 6:11, and Yahweh blessed the house of Obed Edom. In the Hebrew Bible, blessing mainly refers to fertility. Japhet notes that this motif is also reflected in the names of Obed Edom's sons, whose names may refer to the theme of divine reward, such as Sachar, reward and wage, Yisachar, there is a reward, and Peuletai, wage plus a hyperacrostic ending, according to Halot. She writes, quote, this consistent and complete expression of gratitude for God's blessing may indicate the literary origin of the list, but in the absence of additional source material, we should not pursue this hypothesis too far, end quote.
Yeah, at some point you're not even hypothesizing, you're just supposing. It's very difficult to trace.
And I should also note the Targum reading here. It reads, for the Lord had blessed him because of the ark of the Lord which was in his house when it had been brought and left in his house. He shared in the honor of seeing 81 of his sons and grandsons leaders of the Levites. Okay, so on verse 10, although he was not the firstborn, his father had appointed him the first. Knoppers notes that while the chronicler recognizes the force of primogeniture, there are exceptions to this pattern. Fathers could ignore primogeniture and appoint another son as head. Primogeniture. Sorry, English
oldest,
fucking
the old-
sucks.
The
The
rule
oldest,
of the eldest.
Yeah, the
The
oldest in the family
primogenitor being the
takes
one that
over.
becomes head of the
Yeah.
family, takes the lion's share of the inheritance.
Are you suffering from primogenitor?
And most time
It's
it's
also like the state of being the firstborn child, if you want to think of it that way.
and normally primogenitor it's also it's another word like male first primogenitor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
male
So-
firstborn. Exactly
The
right.
firstborn,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like
I apologize.
Well,
Sorry.
firstborn's
I realize-
son.
You leave this.
So like
you-
Western
yeah.
monarchies.
Like
You
that
leave
would
this
be me
PDF
and my family because I have
comment,
two
I
sisters that are
didn't.
older than me. So
Sorry, Aaron?
We're just all talking at once. I'm trying not to.
Okay, so I'll continue. Fathers could ignore primogeniture and appoint another son as head or crown prince, as we've seen 5:1 and 2 and 2 Chronicles 11:22. Peshita adds that Hossa's eldest son has died, probably to explain the unusual presentation in Chronicles.
But he does have an heir, doesn't he? Is it the cousin one or because at one point it was like if the eldest son had died, or even if just the eldest son pissed his father off. I mean, the way that at least some of the sources of Genesis put it, they make it as though Reuben was the eldest but lost the status of primogenitor. So he's named another heir, which I'm sure there was some.
Yeah, and there seems to be
around that.
and there probably is like multiple different ideas of who should be the heir. So that's why you end up with like Judah as like royal heir, and then Levi as like the priestly religious heir, and
it's but then Judah becomes primogenitor ideally in this scenario, despite the fact that he's the fourth son.
Okay, on verse 12, ministering in the temple of the Lord. Klein comments, quote, "The service of the gatekeepers in the temple is not described in detail, but elsewhere they are caretakers of temple paraphernalia, used in the ritual of the temple in 19:27 through 29, 31, and 32. Since David is still king in 1 Chronicles until chapter 29, and since the temple was not built until the reign of Solomon, this verse is anachronistic. This problem is avoided in 921 because the gatekeepers there were assigned to the tent of meeting. But David is not mentioned in 26, 1 through 19, and this reference to service in the temple appears in the section in the section I have judged to be secondary. In any case, the time that the writer is describing is his own post-exilic situation. On 13 through 18, Japhet comments, quote, "The responsibilities of the gatekeepers are described in great detail, with a full list of their posts and the exact number of guards in each watch. Another detailed description is given in 929 through 33. It seems that there can be no doubt that actual conditions of the Second Temple period are reflected in these data. However, the material was adjusted to the chronicler's general terms of reference. That is, the Levitical descent of the gatekeepers, their organization according to the fathers' houses, the 24 divisions for all cultic orders, and the casting of lots. It is difficult to say how much of these reflect actual developments among the gatekeepers, and how much are an expression of theoretical systematization. On 20 through 28, Japhet comments, quote, "In the first section of this unit, verses 20 through 32, where the treasures are listed, the chronicler borrows material from several sources. The names are linked to the Levite families who are mentioned in the previous chapters, and it seems that this section reflects real circumstances of the Second Temple period, which were projected back to David's period. The Levites' function described here is not organically connected to any of those previously mentioned, but they are still part of the temple's administration. This probably explains why the chronicler linked these individuals or groups to the officers and judges and not to the Levites or the gatekeepers." On 21, commentators note that this verse seems corrupt. Japhet notes that the heading is repeated in 3 different formulations: the sons of Ladan, the sons of the Gershonite to Ladan, and the heads of the fathers' houses to Ladan the Gershonite. She suggests that the best solution is to see the middle phrase, the sons of the Gershonite to Ladan, in Hebrew, Bnei HaGershoni LeLadan, as the topography of the first phrase, the sons of Ladan, in Hebrew, Bnei Laadan, which was expanded in a second stage to give a certain meaning to the double text. Likewise, Klein reads, "From the sons of Laadan the Gershonite," and Knoppers, "the sons of Laadan the Gershonite belonging to Laadan the Gershonite, Yechiel."
I do hate the repetitive nature of the redundancy that overstates itself so unnecessarily and repeatedly.
Welcome to the Department of Redundancy Department.
Oh,
And finally, 31 and 32, Dirksen comments, "Verses 31 and 32 are by the author. This is indicated by the way that they are fitted to coincide with the end of David's life. After mentioning the Hebronites on the west side, the author also wanted to give consideration to the Hebronites on the east side. For this purpose, he had to introduce the Hebronites again, which explains the striking repetition of Lachevoni. This conjecture is confirmed by the 2 names. Chashabiah in verse 30 does not occur in chapter 23, in contrast to Yeriah in verse 31, who is mentioned in 23:19. There also as who is mentioned in 23:19 there also as the chief. This addition is entirely in keeping with the author's aim at formal completeness." That's it. No ancient questions.
yay.
Now then, do we have any closing comments?
Yeah, we do. Definitely go join my Discord. I don't know if Tomer's ever gonna get one, but definitely go join my Discord.
Gentlemen.
I will be posting a video this week about the Ten Commandments in Texas public schools, and oh boy, is it gonna be good? I'm gonna leave it as I did post some stuff in the Discord. So if you're in there, you already got the spoiler. But if you're not, I'm just gonna leave it as a surprise.
It's
for you.
sounding very interesting.
There's
Though I do
so
have a
much.
proposition for you and Tomer. I know you girls keep fighting over the Discord. I say you wrestle for it.
All
Full
right, Tomer, let's go.
WWE.
Let's go.
No.
I want to see you in the leotards. We can make it mud wrestling.
I'll contact the
Yeah,
guys so it can
With
happen.
sumo
If-
as well, so no.
They should do a sumo so they can wear those.
Yeah.
What they
No,
I was
no.
just going to say, if that happens, Tomer will just bring a sumo friend and we'll never see Lawrence again.
Hajime.
Doing-
Can imagine that now. Oh gosh.
We're doing 27, 28, 29.
We are.
Yes.
Yes.
27
And
will be
then-
boring, but 28 and 29 should make up for it.
Hey, Aaron, I have one last comment that's not really related to this, but it's kind of related to it. You did a really great video, by the way, that you released about the current state of the United States this morning.
thank
Have
you
you
so
ever
much.
considered doing a panel discussion as a coping mechanism, so we can all discuss, the chaos that's happening in the United States, for example?
If somebody invites me onto a panel, I could probably join.
Hmm.
I hadn't pondered it.
Oh, okay, wasn't sure. I was asked to ask you from Peeters, so.
Sure.
Don't make it a drinking game. You will not survive.
Oh, and by the way, I think I have something on next Saturday, so I'll probably would like to do it on Thursday next week. If that's
Okay.
possible.
And so far, only my Saturdays are free again, at least for the moment. But
Ah.
hey, it's nice to be back, though. It's fun.
It's nice to see you too.
All right.
We'll have to talk about
Thank you much.
Yeah.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.